Okay, turn this off. This is the Kenzan Pachinko soundtrack, which is always a banger. Yeah, so we're playing Kenzan. I already played Kenzan. Got a good time. I'm here to talk about it, and poorly. In addition, I'll talk about Japanese history poorly. It'll be great. That's what I'm looking forward to. So without further ado, close this, open this, say hello to the video. There I go. So Kenzan is a video game. This was a good little surprise. I quite enjoyed how good this run was. How good it turned out to be. If you don't know much about Kenzan, I suppose I can talk about it a little bit. It's a game that came out on the PS3 in 2008. It was the first game in the series on the PS3. Here we have Kiryu Kazumanosuke and his friend Ito. We'll find out later that he's actually Ito Itosai, the famous Japanese swordsman. But for now, he's just Ito, and this is just Kiryu. And Kiryu is a Kakemawari walking around the town of Gion. They perform odd jobs, essentially. It's like a kind of odd jobs kind of guy. And yeah, that's how he makes ends meet. That's how he's living his life. This says something in Japanese. Kiryu's off to collect debts on behalf of Ito, because Ito is also a Kakemawari, but he works for Saruya, which you might have seen down the street just there. It's a the biggest in the district building of courtesans, so Ito works specifically for them. Kiryu today is collecting debts on behalf of them. In the speedrun, that just amounts to running around and doing some stuff before we can actually get to the tutorials proper. Love that Tengu. So we visited Arigataya, and we visited Tengu Drugs. So now we're gonna head to Ebisu Pawn, and they're gonna tell us that we need to go visit the lockers because their payment is in the lockers as a locker key tutorial. And this is the only time we'll be visiting the pawn shop in this particular run, which, if you know anything about the run, is exciting. What will we be doing? What will occur? Here's a locker key we're going to pick up on the ground. I'm not certain exactly why it's on the ground, but now you can go pick up the pawn shop's debt from the lockers. Lovely set of torii gates to pass through. This is the only time we'll see them, because it's the only time we'll be in this part of the city. Whoa! So now, we're going to head out to our first tutorial. The game takes place in feudal Japan, whatever that's worth, like the 1600s or so. Around the era of notable Japanese person, Miyamoto Musashi, also another famous swordsman. Probably some fudging of the dates. I don't think Ito and Musashi lived around the same time, but not exactly. Or Ito would have been an old man, perhaps. You can see these guys love to block in this game. That's the only time in the game, hopefully, that we should be using the slapping move. Because, yeah, enemies, they love blocking it. Here we have to do everything 10 times, as you would expect in a traditional Yakuza tutorial, if you're familiar with the series at all. They gotta make sure you know how to do everything. So here we have to pick up things and hit people with them. You'll notice there's a lot of misses, despite the fact I'm hitting doubly even sometimes. We still need 2 more hits, so that's unfortunate. Now we move on to having to build heat. Fortunately picked up a bucket there, which is interesting. But grabbing and doing attacks while enemies are being grabbed is the best way to get heat. The game would like us to taunt. That's actually pretty useless. Doesn't do much. You can grab and cure you, I believe in you. We now have to perform heat actions. The game gives us limited heat. In order to teach us how to perform heat actions, we're just gonna do that 3 times, because that's very, very useful. And now we can finish them off with hopefully a single punch each, except they level again to block it, so... decent tutorial. Not the best, not the worst. If you're lucky, you can get doubles with the object, you can get triples with the objects. We did no such thing, but that's fine. For the prologue, we don't care too drastically. Hello, kitty. Now that we've collected all the debt, Kiryu is going to head back to Tatsuya, or Dragon House, which is his place of business. But he's going to be stopped along the way by the ruffians from the first tutorial, who have now gathered additional boys. So there's going to be they've organized a second tutorial for Kiryu quite helpfully. They have items on their belts, and the game says, hey, beat them up and pick up those items. Get a few extra kicks in so that the enemies are softened up for later. Now we have the blocking tutorial, where we have to get hit by enemies. You can do it, guys. Want to watch for the guy behind you, because you can only block from the front, and there you go. Now it's the hold R1 and walk tutorial. Very exciting. I'm choosing to circle around them because I kind of like their grouping here, but they've ungrouped themselves, so just gonna kick them. Oh no, first dodging, very important. Dodge 10 times. In Kenzan and Kenzan alone, you can dodge twice in a row, which is useful. Kicking, by the way, is the only thing worth doing in the unarmed style. It's strong, it's fast, they never really block it. Basically the only move that's worth even considering. And now that the tutorial's done, we can go back to Tatsuya and talk to Ito. Now a series of cutscenes ensue. I believe there's a commotion at the gates as a street urchin of some kind is causing a scene. Gion is a city of very limited entry to people who are rich, primarily. So this kid has come looking for someone named Kiryu, which of course we are. This is Kiryu Kazumanosuke, of course. So the child of question is Haruka. She's named Haruka in this game as well. And she is from other games in the series, obviously. She's come to ask Kiryu, because someone told her she could ask a man named Kiryu, to kill the man who killed her parents. And the man who killed her parents is a man named Miyamoto Musashi. Now, this is alarming to Kiryu Kazumanosuke because Kiryu is Miyamoto Musashi. It's a secret identity thing. And now we go back into the past. Very exciting. Back 5 years or something to that effect, Miyamoto Musashi has got like a dojo that he's running, which is convenient because it means he can carry out a series of sword tutorials. Very, very important. So he's teaching these men. The guy in the back, General Marume, is a general for something going on at the time. The Battle of Sekigahara is upcoming, if you know anything about that, but Marume is a general, is a Tokugawa general. So he's here to see Musashi do cool things. One of the cool things Musashi can do, as you may have seen there, is unsheath his sword and resheath his sword. He can also hit a guy with a sword. And the next tutorial coming up, he's going to hit a guy with a sword, but do a strong sword attack at the end of the swording. Very stimulating indeed. Marume's here because he's heard that Musashi is a very skilled swordsman running his dojo here in the countryside, and he wants to recruit him. So first he has to be able to see that Musashi can do basic things such as block sword attacks. But after that he's going to give Musashi a little test. Here, if you don't step forward, one of the first attacks will actually miss, so slightly slow if you don't step forward to take the hit. You'll notice as well everybody's very, very impressed. They like to say sugoi and clap profusely for things such as taking your sword out of its sheath. Kicking to break guards, very important maneuver. Kind of important. Use it a little sometimes. It doesn't often work the way that you would want it to, but that's fine. You'll notice interesting little visual bug. I'll point it out in the next tutorial. In the top left, or maybe you won't notice because it's not really obvious necessarily, there is a sprite for the shortened red oak training sword, and there's a sprite for a long version. So there's a sword and there's a kodachi. That is using the sprite for the kodachi up top, which is a programming error. Kind of interesting. They just literally put the wrong string in. The sword is in the files. You wouldn't notice necessarily. It's longer. The big one is longer. That right there was a little trick that we can do in the game called Zanshin. At the end of a combo, after the finisher, you can hold the button to charge up heat. We don't use it at all over the course of the run. It's pretty good casually. The longer your combo is, when you do the finisher, the more heat you'll gain. But we don't really need... It's still pretty incremental. We don't need to gain a lot of heat. Marume is here propositioning Musashi to have a little fight with him. We have to lose. We can win, but it's way slower because Marume blocks a ton. So we want to lose, but in order to do that, we want to get rid of the little yellow piece of his health bar, which I have now done. I shouldn't have knocked him down a second time, but it's okay. After we do that, he gets more aggressive and will beat us up more quickly. So that's what we're looking for. Thank you, Marume, for hitting me. Some cutscenes are skippable by holding start. Other cutscenes you have to press start for some reason. That right there was one where you have to press start if you are a speedrunner. I'll try to point those out, because they will lose you valuable frames and you wouldn't want that. So now Kiryu's going to head out from his dojo to the little visitor's hut here. Have a little longer conversation with Marume where he's going to go over the details of what he's looking for from Musashi, which is to join his army as a useful recruit. Specifically, Musashi was offered a position as a sword master if he comes along. And yeah, the Battle of Sekigahara is going to be in the upcoming days. In order to prove himself, though, Musashi is now going to have another fight with an old friend named Majima. In Kenzan, this is Majima Gorohachi. funny little wordplay if you speak Japanese. And we're just going to beat him up with a sword. It's pretty fast to just mash square, essentially. You may notice behind my face there's a little level up prompt in Kenzan. Unusually for the series, you get automatic level ups as you get experience. You don't get to choose where it goes, and you just get stat ups. So there's health, strength, speed, and heat. And it's completely set in stone when you get them, at which levels you get them, things like that. So it's fairly predictable over the course of the run. Useful to level up, but we don't really capitalize on it in any way. We're not getting any additional experience or anything like that. We're just letting it happen. Marume there is asking for volunteers to perform an assassination. They're going to carry out an assassination on someone that they've labeled as a traitor, apparently. So remembering that Marume and this army are working for the Tokugawa, that would be a traitor to the Tokugawa. Don't worry too much about the factions, it's really not that important. So Majima and Kiryu, both, Musashi that is, both volunteered to go carry out the killing. So that little battle plan we just saw up on that map there, the majority of the forces are going to be at the front gate. Musashi and Majima are going to infiltrate. So they're going to be fighting, you know, the leftovers of the people who are still inside while the majority of the force is outside of the doors. We're going to grab our Kodachi here, because if we equip the Kodachi, it allows us to run, or if we equip our fists, we can run. I like to run directly to this room so I can start beating up on these guys in the hopes that Majima is going to do his job out there. He rarely does, but sometimes he does a really good job. So we're going to run over here and hope that he will. Basically just a series of normal combos. There's not much to say here. There is one guy who can grab you, and that is unpleasant. But I believe we already took him out. And Majima's doing pretty well over here with his flips. You would think he would do more damage than he does, but he's being quite useful. We actually made it out really fast, so that's good. Do another dash again to this room with a few less men. So here, we could run to the left and pick up a sword called the Nameless Katana, which has been useful in runs in the past. In my routing, I'm not going to pick it up, so we're going to go to the right immediately instead. Because I have heat, I've switched to my fists here. That'll be important in a second. Otherwise, I would have switched to the Kodachi because it is faster to take the Kodachi out, and those are the only two ways in which you can run. So, good to have the fists here right after this QTE around this corner. The QTE is random, so you gotta wait and see what the symbol's gonna be in this case. I'm going to grab this guy, hopefully, not get hit too many more times. Throw him, stomp on him, because that's quite fast. This guy's painful to deal with. The problem is, I should have done one more hit there, so he's still gonna stick around for a second, which is pesky. These guys, they put their sword in their sheath and then they do that. Very annoying. Incredibly annoying. The worst, most annoying enemy in the game. So, can be harder to take out, particularly in larger groups, as we will see down the line. But right now we just gotta kill these guys. Love that blood splatter on the walls. Kenzan has some very unique stuff in it. Despite being early PS3, it's a great looking game, and there's some fun little effects to it as well. Ashina Soldier. But now, we finished the chapter. In good time, to be honest. Quite good time, that's another gold. Which I was happy about. The start of the run is very similar to how the road typically goes. So in terms of speedrun routing, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it beyond what I already have. Having finished the assassination, they've now fled. They realized that the man they killed was Tokugawa Hideyasu, who's the heir to the Tokugawa clan. If you'll recall, Marume was the Tokugawa general. So something strange is going on. They're discussing that while they're waiting for Marume, because this is where Marume said to meet them. So they're talking it over, being like, what just happened? We just killed like a higher up at Tokugawa. That's bizarre. Spoilers for this game, by the way, if you're not already aware. I'm speedrunning it, so I'm just going to talk about it. To the best of my knowledge. So yeah, as they're waiting, you may have seen I had to run out into the rain and then back in. You just have to do that. Now, we're fighting Marume. What's this about? It's betrayal. Betrayal, which we would not like. Marume, rough fight. Can be a rough fight, because he blocks a lot. Luckily, we can get some good knockdowns on him, particularly by attacking him in the back, if you're lucky enough to do so. Or if you're targeting another enemy, Marume will get confused and will just let you attack him and knock him down, which can also be very beneficial. Majima put in a lot of work on this run. I appreciate that a lot. So there again, you can see behind my head there was a level up. And there you go. It's a pretty clean fight, all things considered. That fight doesn't usually... That's about as well as it can go. It can go slightly better, but that's about it. More events occur. There's a lot of cutscenes, so it's hard to discuss literally everything. As the two, Musashi and Majima, were fleeing, reinforcements showed up, led by a man named Sasaki Kojiro. Here you can see, by the way, Musashi has done his famous trick that he does where he pulls out two swords. If you didn't know, that's what Musashi loves doing. So the blocking tutorial happened, the attacking tutorial happened, and now the killing tutorial happens. Dual swords in this game, while they have limited use, the use they do have is pretty good. In these early chapters, they're actually quite strong, because there's a mechanic where the sword and the Kodachi can pair up and like do more damage with each other. So this particular pair, the default pair that you start with, is stronger than the katana alone. So I'm going to take advantage of that in the upcoming chapter. That again, by the way, another good chapter. It's a solid time save. I'm very happy with that. So, Majima and Musashi are continuing to flee. Majima is now down one eye in the cutscenes. Very exciting. And Musashi's going to hold more soldiers off onto the bridge, again with the dual sword. Now, it's important to note for my routing, I'm trying to avoid picking up items if I can. I want to have as much inventory space as possible down the line, so you can see I'm sometimes rolling out of the way of items if I can, to avoid picking them up as they fall from the ads. So for now, we're just going to beat up on guys as best we can, get doubles or triples if we can aim properly. It's typically going to be faster not to do a combo finisher, but sometimes I will just for the extra little bit of damage, or because I'm dumb and I forget. I was hoping that would kill him, but it didn't, but that's fine. Pretty good fight, all things considered. Now, unfortunately, Majima falls off of a bridge. Tragic. So Kiryu takes his sword back to his adoptive sister. We don't know yet that she's adopted, but we find out a cutscene very soon. His sister is Ukyo. If you are familiar with Yakuza 3, you'll know about the Ukiyo Bell, which is a item you get for having, in Japan, Kenzan save data. In other territories, we just get the item because we don't have Kenzan. So Kiryu returns Majima's sword to his sister, Ukiyo, and then spends some time with her. They get to know one another, and she offers for him to stay there and kind of live there for a bit. Because he has nowhere else to go. He's on the run from the Tokugawa for killing their heir. So he's got to hide out, and she offers for that to occur. Unfortunately, some dudes have showed up, so we gotta kill the dudes. With Majima's sword, we cannot switch to dual swords here. We have to use the single sword, so we're just gonna hammer on square in order to deal as much damage as we can. I did that finisher to hopefully get closer to this guy, because it takes you halfway across the arena, as you can see. A year actually passes on this farm. So these bounty hunters are looking for Majima, and unfortunately they find Musashi instead, so he's got to take them out. Also, as this year passes, that, by the way, was a cutscene where you have to press start. Can't hold it, gotta press it. Very important. Don't lose time. Ukiyo and Musashi are now in love. They've spent a year together, and they've had their romantic entanglements. More people have come, unfortunately, looking for Majima, and this time they recognize Musashi, so he's got to defend the farm. And how is he going to defend the farm? Well, this time he's not going to use a sword because he has refused to use a sword. He's given up his life as a swordman, so he's going to use his fists. He's going to pick up this wooden cart. I don't know if this is fast. I just like doing it. It seems fast. Sometimes you miss, unfortunately, but yeah, just smash up as many guys as you can before an arrow forces you to drop it. I decided to pick it up again. Unfortunately, I got heat action out of it. I would have rather just continued to beat up on guys, but most of these people are now at a single hit, which is nice. Again, we're going to kick them because that's what you do in unarmed style. You kick. You don't punch. It's slow. Finish off the archers. That actually was quite fast. I think the cart's pretty fast under the right circumstances, so that's good. And once again, after one more cutscene, we're leaving out the chapter in pretty good time. And I am pleased. So, unfortunately, Musashi now on the run once more because the villagers thought that he was the one who killed Ukiyo. He's now gonna fight some more bounty hunters. Again, just using Majima's single sword because that's what he's got available. No. He's using he's using his katana, but he's not using the dual swords because Miyamoto Musashi has become known now for using the dual swords. So he's only going to use the single sword to avoid being noticed if he can. Because the authorities are looking specifically for Miyamoto Musashi. These guys, we're just going to, again, hammer on square. And I'm, again, trying to avoid items as best I can. If I pick up one or two, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But I'd like my inventory to be as empty as possible for something that's coming up. That poor forgotten item over there. And there you go. That's a fine fight. Even more bounty hunters show up, but Kiryu Musashi is saved by a wandering monk. Just a monk. We don't know who he's, doesn't matter his name. He's just some monk. Laying provocatively with Musashi. They're having a good time. They're having a party. Everyone's pleased under the moonlight. The mood is right, Look at that. Look at that pose. Musashi smiles. In the morning, the monk has left him a note and some clothes. Says, hey, go to Gion. Musashi's going to go to Gion because it's not under direct control of the shogunate, because it's the capital. So the Tokugawa soldiers looking for him don't have the ability to dig as deeply. So the monk says, hey, come to Gion. That's a good idea. Mountain. So here we are in our new attire. Hop off that ledge. Luckily, this fight spawn is not going to catch up with us. This game is, at times, fairly generous with fight spawns. At other times, not so much. Here's another one on the right, but again, we can just run past. In other games, half the time, like that first one would have caught us for sure. Luckily, Kenzan is, again, sometimes a little more generous with its fight spawns. Gorgeous area, by the way. This game, despite being early PS3, looks, I think, wonderful. It's fantastic. I think one of my favorite in the series. Don't mind me, sir, as I pass by you. This logging path is a little bit harder to avoid enemies on, as we will see. There's one right there. Good thing I didn't run into him. Gonna be lots of circumstances like this over the course of the run where a guy can be just over a loading zone like that. We want to look out for that if possible. There's another fight. As we pass on the left, the lucky horse blessing the run with his twisty neck. We're going to enter Rakugai Cho, which I think means something like the southern part of town. Like, it's not really a real name, but that's, you know, what it ostensibly ends up being called, Rakugai Cho. We're going to pass by the palanquin, which we unfortunately cannot use yet, but that will eventually be our taxis in this game. For now, we're going to run to the main gate separating Rakugai Cho, the slums essentially, from Gion, where the rich people go to gamble and frolic, having a good time with courtesans and prostitutes and the like. That's where we were at the beginning of the game. So we meet our friend, the old monk, outside the gates. The guards would not like to provide this pair entry. Luckily, he has a winning smile, so despite the fact that the guards here bar their way, our friend the old monk, well, he has a winning smile and he also has money. Lots of money. So they let us in because gold is law in Gion, essentially. Look at that smile. Didn't I tell you? We're now going to run a small little errand here. We're going to run into the entertainment center. I'm not sure what these particular lines are, but you got to pick the middle option there, and then we're going to leave. And as we're leaving, our old pal Ito is going to show up. Right here, he's just man, but we know him as Ito, of course. Dramatic irony being what it is. And so now we can go grab the monk. Ito says, hey, come to Tsuruya. It's a hip happening place. So that's what we're going to do. Important to note, you can't push Ito like you could in, say, Yakuza 3 with Date or Majima. Can't make them go any faster, all they do is get in your way, so we're just going to race them. At Tsuruya, Kiryu encounters a courtesan who looks surprisingly like Ukyo, who has died. What's up with that? This is Yoshino. We actually ran into her in the prologue in a cutscene that we didn't see because it's a speedrun. So Musashi is astonished by this. What a curious resemblance. What could this mean? He finds it to be fascinating. So they're talking back and forth, as people do. And then a scuffle breaks out in Tsuruya. To deal with that scuffle, because you're not allowed swords in Gion, we're going to be using Kiryu's feet once more. Sorry, Musashi's feet. By kicking the belligerent man. Again, it's just faster to kick. I'm going to punch him at the end, though. Which is not, it's really, it comes at the same speed as the kick. There's no, you can do either. During all this, Yoshino recognizes the bell that Musashi has from Ukyo, which he's attached to the hilt of his katana. Because of that, she says, "Oh, what's that? Very intriguing." Musashi here decides he's going to open up the establishment we saw at the beginning, Dragon House Tatsuya. And the old monk is going to give him a parting gift in the form of a lovely white coat with a dragon on the back. Very stunning, very stylish. Musashi here says he's going to take on the name Kiryu Kazuma Nosuke, which is Nosuke is a traditional like name ending type thing. Japanese is a very intricate language, but it's also just funny because of course the character traditionally Kiryu Kazuma. This is Kiryu Kazuma Nosuke, different guy. Anyway, he's actually Miyamoto Musashi. So now we know about the two identities. We're traveling forwards in time once again. You will recall that Haruka asked Kiryu to kill a man who killed her parents named Miyamoto Musashi. After that, in cutscenes, there was back and forth about, well, you shouldn't do that. Killing men is not really something you can easily take back. And, oh, well, how would you even pay me? Haruka decides she's going to sell herself into courtesanship at a very young age. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that she's becoming a prostitute or anything like that. It's the early days of training to be, you know, not anything untoward, but this is something that went on in the era. Girls of a particular age, for money or otherwise, would do that. It's a terrible thing, but at this stage, Haruka is not necessarily at risk. It's not a pleasant thing. Here in this next cutscene also, Kiryu discovers that not only did she do that to gain this money, she only gained 1 Ryo, which is, let's just say, a low amount of money. It's not the amount of money that you would want to essentially sell yourself into a kind of slavery for. You wouldn't want to do, you know, it's not good. Double not good, triple not good, etc. So, 1 Ryo, not great. The currency, I guess I can go over as well. Back in the day, they didn't have yen. They had mon and they had Ryo, and a Ryo is 10,000 mon. Doesn't really matter that much. It's all in Japanese, you wouldn't know anyway, but I'm just going to let you know. So now that we have had that conversation, we're going to head back to Tatsuya. This run back and forth is going to happen a few times over the course of the run. It is what it is. That's the location we're going to be going to. So we're going to head back to Tatsuya. First, there's going to be a fun little feature. As we turn the corner here, there's a jump scare. It's a pigeon. The pigeons will bring you mail periodically telling you about side quests you can take on. We're not doing any of them. This is a speedrun. Nevertheless, we will occasionally get astonished by a bird. Here, Kiryu's going to have a further conversation with Haruka where he says, all right, I'll take on your request to kill this man named Miyamoto Musashi for 1 Ryo. Because it is what it is. The next day, he's going to go back to Tsuruya, because that's again, what we're going to do a lot in this run. Also, you're going to notice we're going to pass by those revelers a lot in this run. They've been there for 5 years. They're having a party. They're having a time. There's 4 of them. They get in the way every time. That's what you can do about it. So Kiryu's going to talk the next day with Ito again, talk about the situation. Ito has come up with an idea. Kiryu should go visit Koetsu. Honami Koetsu is a famous artist and painter from the period. He's apparently nearby. His mansion is nearby. And apparently he's also an informant. So Musashi will go scope this out and see if he's got anything useful to say. However, on the way, we're going to be interrupted by a feline. This man is the Revelations Master. If you've played other games in the series, there's Revelations. This man will give you artwork of various things, like that cat, for example, and say, hey, go find this in the world. You know, there's a cat, there's a dog, there's a monkey, and it'll give you special heat moves if you go and seek them out, the same way that it would in later games like 3 and 4. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to go to the Sakaya, where we're going to purchase boatloads of sake, the Nanto Morihaku, as much as we can afford, because it gives us 500 drunkenness. This is a run where we get sloshed, and that's very important. Not right now, but down the line. So we need to fill our inventory with it. We need every single drop of sake that we just purchased. 14 slots is perfect. So onwards and upwards. Kiryu's going to head out to Koetsu's mansion. We now gain the ability to go through this hatch at the back of the house. The gate is no good for going from Gion, so in order to leave under sort of cover of secrecy and the ability to equip your swords, Kiryu goes through this back exit, and we're going to be doing that a lot over the course of the run. So we go to go visit Koetsu, only it turns out this guy won't let us. We need a pass to get through. We'll talk to this guy. He'll give us some info with the 4th option. Sort of startle the info out of him, I believe, based on how he looks. Maybe not. Anyway, the info is head down to the Market Row, where we can potentially find someone who can get us a counterfeit pass. So off we go to that. Unfortunately, they're not so nice, so we're going to fight them instead. I'm going to pull out the dual swords for this fight, I believe, because, again, they're pretty good. They're quite strong at this early stage. Beat up on this guy first, because he can be pretty annoying. This guy behind me can punch. So again, we're just trying to line up guys in 2s or 3s if we can. Deal as much damage as possible, ideally not fall over or get knocked down in any way. That's basically it. We're just beating them up. Not the best fight, but pretty okay. These guys say, alright, we'll let you do that. So they give us a pass to get a counterfeit from the counterfeiter who is hiding out in the shogi parlor. Just some old man who makes good counterfeit goods. So go check him out and ask him for what we need if we can manage to walk over there. Top option. This thing is what we pick, which is what we were just given by that fight. Now get me out of here. Unfortunately, out of here is another fight. Because, once again, angry people have brought more angry people. So now we're going to fight this guy, who is an unsheather. Remember that annoying thing from that chapter. They don't take very well to dual swords. You can see there's a whole awful lot of blocking going on. Also, I don't know how that man was holding that heavy log. I say that Kiryu can also pick up the heavy logs, but that guy holds it with one hand sometimes, which is very strange. Anyway, you know, do a clever back spring to get out of the way. Trust me, that's a tough enemy. So we'll do cleanup on this guy over here. And now with our new counterfeit bridge pass, we can head back on over there and get access to Koetsu's side of the map. That camera angle can be tricky. In prior runs, I've gotten trapped there for like 5 seconds just going back and forth because of the way that the camera works in this game. So, good to escape. Harder than it looks sometimes. This guy says, "Oh well, I guess that's a pass, so I gotta let you through." This is a very real bridge. In this city is very real, right? This is Kyoto, and Gion and Rakugacho are parts of Kyoto. At the time, Edo, I want to say. And this very real bridge is an important bridge. I don't know its name, but it's a bridge that exists. So we're now here looking for Koetsu. Where could he be? Well, he's at this very lovely mansion. It's at this time, I should point out, this game started the tradition that occasionally occurs in this series, where we cast characters as other characters. So obviously Kiryu is Musashi. Ito was Killer Kawara from Yakuza 2. And this young man, not so young, the ninja master, secretly, Koetsu, is the florist from other Yakuza games, which is very fascinating. And of course, once again, he is the informant in this game. So yes, this painter is also a ninja master. The ninjas bring him information, hence information broker. He says he will give Kiryu the information if Kiryu can go recollect a golden statue that was stolen by a bandit. The bandit's name is Shishido Baiken. So Kiryu's off to go recover this statue, and then Koetsu will give him the information that he needs. So we're going to run across town. This is the direction of Baiken's headquarters. I know that because I've played the game before. So we're going to head to the east. There is a sub-story on this road that we would grab in other versions of the route because it gives us 10,000 Mon. We don't need it, so we're going to avoid it. It's on the right there. We will avoid it as best we can. It's actually fine. Just stick to the left. But this man is going to stop us. This is the blacksmith, and he says, "Hey, I've got a really big sword. I'm not going to let you go away. You need to try my big sword. It's really big. Equip my big sword." That means no more Kodachi, because it takes up the same slot, but we've equipped the big sword. Then these men say, "Hey, you're an awful blacksmith," and Kiryu says, "Well, that's not good, you can't say that." And the blacksmith says, "Hey, try out my big sword." So we have big sword tutorial. The great sword is very slow. That's its primary characteristic. It can also block bullets. So we have to block some bullets. I moved over a little to the right there because the guy on the left has a tendency to miss shots sometimes, and I think it might be because he gets behind that tiny fence. So I thought maybe by moving to the right, that wouldn't occur. It didn't occur in this run. I don't know if it works, so that's just my guess. Now we had to beat them up. We try to only do 2 hits because the 3rd hit is a knockdown, and the greatsword can't attack enemies on the ground. So, unfortunately, I knocked that guy down, so I'm going to use the strong attack to leap across the arena as best I can. I knocked that guy down too. Unfortunately, the tutorial is going poorly. Luckily, it's not a problem. It's completely fine. So we're just gonna finish them off. It's really not that bad. Just getting around with the greatsword is a nightmare. We're not going to use it too much more over the course of the run, but there are a couple key things about it that will make it pretty useful. So having completed the tutorial, we are off in search of Shishido Baiken. Shishido Baiken has a cave. That cave is through the logging forest. The logging forest contains fight spawns. Fight spawns are now active, not just here, but also in town. But here's what we're worried about right now. For example, this guy. Luckily, we can run by on the left and just skirt past. And this guy up ahead, who's standing next to a squirrel, I'm going to wait for him to turn around. You can also lead enemies back a certain distance, then they'll stop pursuing you. That can work. I try to do that when I can, but otherwise I just want to be safe, so I'm just going to wait for him to turn around. Having reached the cave, we have quite a long cutscene. Of course, the last weapon we had was the big sword, so we still have it. These guys are going to close this gate. How irritating. First, I'm going to whip out my dual swords, because in this chapter, at the very least, they are still quite useful, so we're going to beat on these men. A lot of these men like to do a thing where they run at you and try to stab you like that. We don't want to see that if we can help it. The dual swords can block from any direction, so if I remember to block, that's a very useful thing to do. Regardless, we're just going to try to chain attacks together, take these guys out. We no longer have to worry about dodging items because we have a full inventory of sake now, so that was what we wanted the empty inventory for. Now we're simply gonna beat up the guys. Bit of a slow fight here, unfortunately. Not the best that it has gone. So, as we wait for this guy to very, very slowly bleed out on the ground, this took a long time, actually. Longer than it usually does. We talk to this guy, he says, hey, this chain, whatever, so we're going to break it with the greatsword. That's the quickest way to do it. All the other weapons are quite slow for breaking chains and later barricades and later armor. So we're going to pull out the greatsword. Pulling out the greatsword counts as an attack from certain angles, so that's slightly useful for a speedrun. So we'll do that again. Hit it once, put it away. Because we want to put it away so we can dash with our fists. In set pieces such as this, dashing, very important. Can't do that in Yakuza 3, which comes after this game, so it's a useful thing, honestly. So, having made it down here, a bit of a change for speedrun routing in my route. We would, after this barricade, pick up a big club, typically. I'm not going to pick it up. I don't think we need it. I'm just going to leave it behind. We're going to proceed as usual. It's stronger, but it's also slower, so I'm going to attempt to just use the big old greatsword that we do have. Not do menuing or anything like that. Here we have a big cylinder with some slopes and some fiery balls. You can, even from all the way at the top, just walk off that edge and fall all the way down. So very important to avoid doing that. We also want to avoid the flaming balls as they come down. Actually not a huge deal if you get hit. Sometimes they do things like sit still, which is very interesting. Unfortunately, I did take a hit, which will slow you down. That's the primary problem, is it stops you from running. 2 hits, not so bad. Gotta finish running uphill, where we will encounter Shishido Baiken, the bandit, who stole the statue. We're going to take out single sword because he doesn't tolerate dual swords very well. Shishido Baiken, it turns out, is our old pal Majima. Now, of course, missing an eye. He has survived his very long fall off the bridge, but forgotten who he is. Just fell into being the leader of a group of bandits. So I'm going to very carefully try to pin him down as much as I can, only doing, if possible, shorter combos so I have a better chance of knocking him down, because he can do a really awful long heat action of his own involving his Kusarigama, where he grabs the pillars and pulls them down on top of you because he's very strong. Luckily, we completely avoided that. So, really good Baiken fight, actually. As he flops around. Kenzan, early game in the series, uses the Havoc engine for ragdolls, so we're going to see a lot more ragdolling over the course of this run. And they got rid of that in later games until the Dragon engine, which doesn't use Havoc, but it does have quite a lot of ragdolling. But for a while, anyway, in this series, this is what we got. Ragdolls and Kenzan. So, these palanquin drivers are being terrorized, so having helped them out, they'll give us a free lift back to town. Another deviation here for this route, I'm going to immediately use their services again to go pick up a sub-story. This sub-story is very important for getting cursed swords down the line, which we're going to want to use quite badly. But because I want to get one actually at the start of the next chapter, I need to do this sub-story now. It's also only available during the day, which is important, so I can't do it next chapter. Next chapter starts at night. So we're going to do it now. This guy, affectionately known as Sword Grandpa, warns us off of fake cursed swords, but says, hey, there's some real cursed swords around. Doing this is a requirement to get those cursed swords. Having done that, we're now going to run over to Koetsu's mansion, back to the statue. There's no convenient taxi to get to Koetsu's mansion. There's one eventually to the left, and there's one over here to the right. There is not one on the screen itself where the mansion is, so either way we have to run past. Some obstacles are going to get in our way later that makes that additionally challenging, but for now, we're good to just avoid fight spawns if we can, and run to go meet up with Koetsu. That's a disgusting fight spawn there. That's vile. There are, excuse me, there are worse ones, but that's a pretty vile one right there. So Koetsu, having now recovered his statue, is willing to give Kiryu information, but he lets Kiryu know, first of all, he's actually known that Kiryu is Miyamoto Musashi all along, because Koetsu was the artist who did the wanted poster. There it is. What a likeness. He's the one who did Musashi's wanted poster, so he's known all along that he's Miyamoto Musashi, but he says he's not going to rat Musashi out, because Musashi's now his customer. So, professional courtesy. And coming out of that chapter, that's a hell of a time save. I don't know where that came from, to be honest. I think my chapter in my previous run was pretty good, but apparently not. So, hell of a gold. Now, Ito, who does not know that Kiryu's Musashi, by the way, very important. Ito and Kiryu are having a little chat about what to do next. Koetsu, the information that he gave Kiryu is that a man calling himself Miyamoto Musashi, is supposed to show up at the Yoshioka Dojo nearby for a duel. He sent a challenge to the dojo. So Kiryu's now making it his goal to check out the dojo. What are we going to do first? We're going to duck out the hatch here into the night of Rakugai-cho, where we're going to go immediately attend to a sub-story, the most important sub-story in this route. Because in this route, we're going to pick up Suiken, also known as the Drunk Sword. It is a sword that makes you stronger the drunker you are, hence why we picked up all that sake before. So this guy's waving around his drunk sword. His wife's not very happy about it. She says, "Oh no, please, my husband, he's a terror. Please get this sword out of his hands." I say, "All right, I can do that for you." So we're going to taxi back because it's ever so slightly faster. Because the taxi is next to the Sakuya in Rakugai-cho, where our drunk swordsman is hanging out, guzzling alcohol quite loudly. Drink along at home if you've got it. I'm drinking carbonated water. Oh no, he cut that man down. He's very strong because he's drunk. So he's gonna... Kiryu challenges him. He's gonna drink some more. The poor Sakuya owner is being drunk dry of all of his stash. Luckily, he must not have had enough because he's quite easy to take down. I'm going to take out dual swords because it's ever so slightly faster, so long as he doesn't block. I guess I could note at this time, swords in this game have 3 stats. There's like an attack stat, is what we might call like pressure. It's sort of an obscure Japanese concept, but basically what it does is it overcomes guard at particular levels. So the higher the pressure, the easier a sword can overcome a guard. Nice level up there. The rare in adventure mode level up. So there's attack, there's pressure, and there's speed. There's 4 different speeds for swords. So the drunk sword that we just picked up has 60 base attack, only 20 pressure, which is not super great, but it's not going to matter on easy mode. And it's a slow speed. Again, not really going to matter that much because when we drink, the drunk sword makes us very, very strong. There's 5 different levels of drunkenness that you can have. The meter in the data goes from 0 to 1,000. Every 200, essentially, you hit a new level. And every new level you hit, after the first, you deal an additional 10% damage. This is a fight spawn Gion that we have to avoid, by the way. Very easy, luckily, to do so. So yeah, the sword does an extra 10% damage for every additional drunk level. Also important, that sub-story gave us 2 Ryo. 2 Ryo is important because right here, we are going to bribe a man named Gion Toji. Gion Toji is going to allow us access to the dojo. He's a member of the Yoshioka Dojo, and by bribing him, he's going to get us into the entrance exam for the dojo, so that Kiryu can become a member and infiltrate the dojo in time for this fake Musashi to show up. And this is, of course, the fee that he extracted. So we went up 20k, now we're down 20k, but that's okay. Money really doesn't matter over the course of this this route anyway. Other routes for this game use another cursed sword called the Money Eater. And for that route, money is very, very important because every hit that you use of the sword takes 100 mon away, which racks up quite quickly over the course of the speedrun. So that is luckily not what we're doing in this run. In this one, we are using the drunk sword, but the Money Eater is still in the game, and it's actually going to cause us problems over the course of this route. For now, we have to head down to the Zonki Dojo, because in addition to Gion Toji's bribery, we need a training certificate from this dojo to go get another training certificate from Koetsu later, so that we can gain access to the dojo's training exam, because we'll have, like, notoriety, essentially. So here we're gonna learn another guard break for single sword. We don't really use it over the course of the run. The kick is pretty good. They seem roughly equivalent. Regardless, we have to go through this in order to gain access to the next portion of the game. This guy's a pretty cool character, actually. Got a dog, first of all, which is neat. And the Zonki Dojo, Zonki is a wordplay. It's like sorrowful, but also ogre killer or something to that effect. And so over the course of his whole thing, that fun little wordplay comes into effect. Regardless, I'm going to mash out a taxi and come back here so we can run over to Koetsu's mansion. On the way, we're going to be stopped. We're going to be stopped by this man eating soup. This man, spoilers, is the secret boss of the game, Amon. And here he is eating soup. But for now, he's telling Kiryu about the Doshin, the roaming police in Rakugai-cho, who you can run into and have a weird GTA-esque chase with, where they chase you around and they yell and sound the alarm. You have a whole different running animation, it's a whole thing. And you have like a wanted meter. If a run is good, which it usually is good enough for, also check out this disgusting fight spawn roaming on the left there. If a run is good enough, typically the Doshin won't cause problems. We won't even see them. But that whole system exists in this game. And that was what Amon was telling us about. In addition to that, he has the whole set of wanted man sub-stories where you have to track down wanted men and kill them or not kill them, sometimes to get more money. You'll also notice I'm doing some weird movement here. That's because this movement gets us around the Money Eater sub-story, which is in our way. It's taking up the majority of the road on that one side. There's that whole group of people standing there. We have to avoid it every single time because it would lose us 2 minutes. And in order to do that, you have to do a weird little bit of movement that I just did there. You're going to do it a lot over the course of the run because we have to go through here a lot over the course of the run. So we're coming over here to pick up this taxi, which is important because it unlocks this taxi for later use. Where we're going now that we've talked to Koetsu is he wants us to pick up a little snack for him, a mugwort dongo. So we're going to go down here through this river route to go pick up his favorite mugwort dongo. Unfortunately, right here there can be a terrifying fight spawn just past this entrance. I'm going to very carefully sneak on up. It's not there. Great. If only I had known, I would have ran faster. It's fine. We're going to keep going. Very nasty fight spawn. Can't really consistently avoid it coming out of that entrance. You just have to slowly approach and make sure that it's not there. This river is nasty for fight spawns. You can see I've just passed 2. Here's a third one up here. They're all nasty. Nasty, nasty fight spawns. But we've made it through unscathed, so we can go to the Riverside Tea House, where finally we're going to get rid of what is currently in our way in our inventory, this health item, and purchase the Mugwort Dongo. Having acquired that, we can grab the taxi and head right back over to the one that was in front of the Yoshioka Dojo. That means we're going to have to avoid the Money Eater yet again. Common theme over the course of the run. There can also be really poorly placed fight spawns while we're avoiding the Money Eater sword, so we have to pay very close attention to that as well. You can see there's a fight spawn on the left. There's that group of people that we're trying to avoid. So we have to slip by, stick to the wall here, go on this side of the bridge, do a little, you have to do this little swerve here, or else you will you'll nick that sub-story, and get Koetsu his lunch. Having done that, he will let us engage in some ninja training. He's got some cool ninja training down here. Karakuri is what it's called. It's a Japanese, it's automatons, essentially. In this case, we have the Karakuri scarecrows. In addition to that, there is a little rodeo thing you can do where you ride a frog. It's actually really cool. You throw shurikens at targets. It's a whole thing. Here, we're just going to attack these. We have to do the scarecrow one, so we're going to do it. I'm going to hit the scarecrows. They show up the same way every time. There's no surprise to it. And yet, sometimes you still manage to forget. Don't mind me, I'm not bored, I'm just checking on something. The tricky scarecrows have been taken care of. You can only ever get 3rd place. I don't know how you would get 1st place. Minute 2 is very fast for that. You would definitely need some kind of tricks that we don't possess. So it's the bottom option twice to leave. This menu can be quite tricky, actually. And we are out. We're now going to return to the Yoshioka Dojo, which means we are dodging that money sword story a 3rd time. So corner cut here, do a little swerve across this bridge, against the wall, around these two. Watch out for fights. Luckily, the fight spawns are the same as the last time we passed through here, for now. Substory on the left, look out for that. Substory on the right, if you talk to those people, so look out for that. And there can be a fight spawn right in front of the gate, so look out for that. We're going to head to the Yoshioka Dojo, where we can now attend the entrance exam. Gion Toji has gotten us in. So the first of 2 fights here is against a man named Ueda Ryohei, who is the top apprentice at the dojo. So for some reason, new recruits will fight the best guy there. Interesting. The best apprentice, that is to say. He can put up some trouble just by blocking and doing various things. Luckily, we're getting some good hits on his back. Also, you'll notice when a guy is too far away, if I can't reach him with normal strikes, I'm going to do a strong stab just to deal a little extra damage as he's falling over. If he was closer, I could do 2 strikes. Heat action to finish. I would have liked to save the heat for later, but it's okay. A second fight here. This time, rather than using a training sword, we're using a normal sword. But it's a plot normal sword, so we can't yet use the drunk sword until the next chapter. First, we're going to have a talk with Denshichiro, one of the 2 Yoshioka brothers. He wants to duel us, but actually his brother's going to duel us. Seijiro. Seijiro is the better of the 2 swordsmen. He's older. Not incredibly important, but there's some disagreement amongst the brothers about what they should do. Seijiro, even though he's the better swordsman, wants their family to go into textiles instead. Whereas Denshichiro, who I'm going to refer to as the ugly brother, it's just Seijiro has a face actor, so there's really no competition. Denshichiro would rather have the dojo continue. Seijiro here is entering a little parry mode there, so I wasn't going to attack him because when he has a sword up, he's going to do a little parry. That's Seijiro, a pretty standard fight. You just want to watch for the parry, and he will provide you good openings a lot of the time, so that is all well and good. Having dueled Seijiro with swords, Kiryu now notices in the cutscene that the sword is blunt. That Seijiro's sword was blunt, whereas Kiryu's sword was sharpened. So had Seijiro's sword been sharp, he thinks there would have been a different resolution. Regardless, Gion Toji now reveals he knows Kiryu's identity. He knows that he is Miyamoto Musashi because Gion Toji is a former soldier of Marume, who recognized Musashi as soon as he saw him. So he says, hey, I know who you are. It's cool, though. I'll help you, like, root out this fake Musashi. I won't tell anyone who you are. So, hey. Cool. He's a cool guy, that Gion Toji. Decent gold. I had a fight spawn in this chapter in my prior run, so that's why. It was exactly the nasty fight spawn in the river that I was talking about. Luckily, we did not encounter it this time, so we're good to go. After a little back and forth with Gion Toji, Itosai shows up and accuses Kiryu of being Miyamoto Musashi, so they're going to have a little tussle. Because Miyamoto Musashi also killed Ito's family, or someone claiming to be him. So Ito is seeking revenge against Musashi, as well as against Marume. First, we're going to drink some sake and listen to this sick music as we take out the drunk sword. Lovely shade of purple. I missed the stab, unfortunately. I should be using a heat action. I'm not, because I'm dumb. So he's gonna knock me down. I wanted to save time. I did not save time. It's fine. Not a problem. We can listen to this sick music. He has a little resurrection trick, so we're going to hit him once, and then wait for him to do that. We block as well. That makes him think he has an opening, so we can do a full combo. Same thing again, except this time he has half health, so it's even easier. One hit, do that, do that. That's incredibly consistent, as far as I know. You can see the drunk meter flashing up there above my head. If it's flashing rapidly red like that, we are at drunk level 5, which means we're going to be dealing the most damage. Again, that is 140% of the typical damage, additional 40%. 10% per drunk level above the first. And because of the way damage is calculated as well, it's also calculated on top of some other damage that gets added in from strength and from damage that individual moves deal. So it actually ends up being even better than you would think. So, good. It's good. It's pretty good. The two of them are now reconciling as Musashi says, hey, yo, I am Musashi. I didn't kill your family, though. That sucks about your family. They're talking about, there's a lot of cutscenes going on here. I'm not certain exactly every single thing that they discuss, but that's okay. We wouldn't have time to go over it anyway. Something I think they are talking about here, or maybe it comes up slightly later, is that because there is a new governor of Kyoto elected, he's going to have a celebratory visit to Tsuruya. And with the governor, Sasaki Kojiro will be there, so both Kiryu and Ito can potentially get some revenge because Kojiro was also involved in Ito's problems as well. Kojiro, we briefly saw in chapter 3 when he showed up. He was the one who took Majima's eye. We didn't see him, of course, because it was in a cutscene. But he is a key figure in Musashi's life story. And Musashi has a climactic duel with him in real history, real recorded history, allegedly. So, he's in this game. I don't know what's going to happen. Because we are drunk, by the way, fight spawn rates go up. Basically to 100%, depending on how drunk we are and depending on what area we're in at the time of the game. But basically, you can assume it's very close to 100%. So, we had a bunch of scary fights there that we had to avoid. Despite the fact that we're often drunk over the course of the run, we're not actually often running past a lot of fights because the game forces us to be sober quite often. That's why we need all that sake in our inventory to keep up. So that's one of the most dangerous drunk runs over the course of the game. It might even be the only one, unless I'm forgetting another one. We can technically run into one more fight spawn in Gion here when we're drunk, the same one that we avoided last time, but it's not really a cause for concern. So we're going to head back to Saruya, past the revelers yet again. There they go, throwing their confetti. Lovely town, Eon, at day or night. There's fireworks going off. There's people running around having parties. It's a lively town. Everything's decorated in bright colors. I really love this game. I love how it looks. I like this Tengu head overhead that I don't point my camera to, because it's very unique. Very visually appealing game, in my opinion. So we're headed back to the back side of Saruya. This time, talk to the Sweeping Man. The Sweeping Man will get us in touch with Ito, I believe? Or is it Yoshino? No, it's the proprietress. No, it's Haruka. First Haruka. They're having a chat. He's just updating her on what's going on with the hunt from Miyamoto Musashi. She does not obviously know that Kiryu is Miyamoto Musashi. Still some fun identity play going on there. Then the proprietress comes out. Probably says something like, hey, why are you talking to this girl that I own? She's not a very nice woman. Very stern. She has her good sides. We won't see them because we're skipping cutscenes. But, you know, she's been, in cutscenes, she's been not nice to Kiryu at all, some might say. That's putting it mildly. So they're not exactly on good terms. So we're going to head now to Koetsu. So again, we have the horrifying fight spawn. Luckily, this is a larger lad, so he's slow and can't catch us there. But if he wasn't, we would have to probably do something more inventive to get past, depending on where we get spotted in his cycle. Also, coming from that direction, we can still catch that sub-story, which is why you have to do a weird little corner cut on that corner there, even when you're coming in, because otherwise that sub-story can very easily grab your attention and lose you time. So we're talking to Koetsu, discussing exactly the thing I discussed before. The governor of Kyoto is going to be attending Saruya. How can we get in there to take revenge on Kojiro? We are revenge-minded right now. Kiryu, throughout this game, there's a minor theme, not so minor, but there's a medium theme surrounding killing, and if you kill people, killing is, you're gonna want to do more killing, and it involves Majima talking about killing. They're talking to each other about killing. It's a whole thing. So it's, just seeking revenge. Should you seek revenge? Things like that. Hey, our fight spawn's gone. That's great. So we're gonna head back now. Different fight spawn. We're gonna head back now to Saruya, to town, and then to Saruya. Hello, sir. I don't think I spotted you, to be perfectly honest, but it's okay, because you weren't in my way. Interesting little camera thing with these games. You get into these fixed camera situations when you're coming through entrances and exits like that. So for a little bit of speed tech, if you like, one good way to transition is, once you come out of that, if you're still holding the stick in the particular direction, you'll continue to run in that particular direction. If you then press the button that centers the camera will turn around. You'll still be running in that direction so long as you're holding the stick the same way that you were. Don't touch it at all. You can then sort of ride that out and still be running in a good direction depending on how you set yourself up. Useful little thing for games in this engine, which is this 3, 4, Dead Souls to some degree, even 5. There's some overlap. We're now going to Saruya's front door. This is a rare instance where we're going to hit up the front door first, only to then go around to the back. You can slip through this little hole here. It's nice. So further cutscenes await. We're now going to talk to the proprietress again. Kiryu, looking kind of sad, says, "Hey, let me in. I want to kill a man." I don't think she's too pleased about that. So Kiryu and Ito are going to meet up at night to just sneak in instead. Oh, also, in the meeting with Koetsu, that's when Kiryu learned Marume is also going to be there. So everyone's going to be there. It's going to be a good place to be if you're looking for revenge or information, or revenge, to determine what has gone on, which Kiryu at this point is still very eager to learn because of the weird betrayal situation from earlier. So we're going to head back here where we're going to catch up with Ito, who's waiting for us. And we'll just hammer on that bottom option in a second to transition into nighttime. So now, on the way, because the governor is visiting, we're going to encounter some Doshin, just like out in Rakugai-cho, which we have to avoid. Unlike in Rakugai-cho, where they give us a fun little chase, if you get caught here, you get an instant game over. So we're going to avoid them by taking the exact same route to Saruya that we always take without any deviations whatsoever. It just happens to work out that they don't catch you, so that's all well and good. Because Kiryu went to sleep in a cutscene earlier, it's a new day, so he's no longer drunk, so we gotta drink again. And on we go. Complicated series of events here. Basically, Kiryu and Ito are spying on events. They see the governor, the new governor, leading Haruko away. Immediately after that, Kojiro comes in and starts killing people at the party, and then Saruya gets set on fire. We don't know who set it on fire. That's very mysterious. Anyway, it's now on fire, and Kiryu's got to fight people. So we're going to put away our sword so we can run down the stairs. So these guys are all going to be 3 hits with our nice new purple sword. You love the way that sword looks. What a big kick. He's a kicker, that's for sure. In this room, there's going to be a grabby guy. So we want to go for the grabby guy. I did not go for the grabby guy. There he is. He grabbed me. Oh, he grabbed me again. Oh, he grabbed me a 3rd time. He's a grabby boy. We want to kill the grabby guys. Let's run as best we can. Regardless, that's fine. Not a big deal. We're out of the room. Gonna put away our sword again so we can sprint. Try not to run into the fire if you can avoid it. Gonna take out our sword to stop the sprint as we head into this room, where there is another grabby guy and more dudes in general. Will he grab me? Yes, he will. He absolutely will grab me. But it's fine. Life goes on. No use crying over being grabbed by an old dude. One more. Then, oh no, the structural integrity of the building is falling apart. Kiryu sees a room across where, oh, maybe we should go over there. Well, we're not going to. We're gonna just proceed down the stairs right here, because this is a speed run. We're not gonna bother putting our sword away, because right here we would run into this QT, which is always X. run in here. This door takes a single slice. Then we have a series of QTEs. This one is X, as something narrowly avoids falling on Kiryu, and then we're going to roll into the next one, which is circle. Let's see if we can avoid running into the fire as we do an awkward little rotation, because the game's trying to railroad you into certain rooms where you can do other things. We don't want to do any of those things. We want to be here, where we will fight Big Club Man. He has armor. What that armor means is we're going to want to take out our greatsword. After a long cutscene, we're going to want to take out our greatsword. Doing that helps us avoid a QTE, because the QTE only appears when we have our single sword out. Unfortunately, what happens right now, when I take my single sword out, is I immediately do get the QTE. I think Kiryu literally does not have a sword in his hand because of how I switched back to the sword. Regardless, we got the QTE. We're now going to hammer on him with the drunk sword, and he's dead. Very, very strong. Strong little piece of equipment. We avoided one of 2 QTEs, so that's still well and good. We're going to head downstairs, where there is a very large fish, as well as a fight with 3 ninja. Try as I might, I have not found a way to make use of the fish, but while I am failing to fight these ninja a little bit, I'll tell you that once the fish runs out of stability, you pick it up, you swing it. Once it runs out of stability, you get a healing item out of it. You get like a tuna sashimi or something, so that's nice. It's the only item in the game where that happens. This fire around the arena can bully you if you touch it. These ninjas can obviously bully you. They are bullying me to the best of their ability. They are really doing it. The big guy has a sword that causes you to be stunned. They also do a astonishing amount of damage, I'm realizing, but we're through it by the skin of our teeth. Not losing too much time, so it's all well and good. In cutscenes here, Haruka sees the bell on Kiryu's sword. She also recognizes that bell, just like Yoshino did earlier, but somehow she associates it with the man who killed her parents. What's that about? I don't know. Anyway, Haruka now thinks that Kiryu is Miyamoto Musashi, which of course he is, but not the one that killed her parents. Regardless, Marume was also there, but Kiryu didn't get a chance to confront him because there was like a flaming, piece of wood in the way or something. Tsuruya is now unfortunately burnt to a crisp. It's a terrible tragedy. Now it's actually fine. And the repairs are going to be funded by the Tokugawa or something to that effect. So everything's fine. Not a problem. We'll go there later again. It'll all be good. We're going to head over here to... I forget the name of this place, but we're going to talk to this guy because this is the temporary residency for the courtesans who were displaced. We're going to go talk to Yoshino, and then through her we're going to talk to Haruka. Haruka seems unhappy with Kiryu, not sure why. He's not sure why, of course we know why. Yoshino, I think right here, is saying something akin to, oh man, what a crazy fire, and also Haruka doesn't want to talk to you. Could be a fight spawn right here, luckily there isn't. Regardless, we're now going to head to, I want to say, Koetsu's. Also in a cutscene, Ito was wounded. Don't worry about it, he's fine. For now, though, he's wounded. Out of action. Serious wound. Could be trouble. He's fine. Yeah, Haruka didn't want to see him. Kiryu's now going to go visit Koetsu, because Koetsu's going to tell him more about the fake Musashi. Unfortunately, in the Yakuza series, a lot of the Yakuza series anyway, we don't have a lot of great speedrun skips. We're not doing any scene walking or anything. Unfortunately, that would be very visually impressive. There's some fun things. But yeah, there's no out of bounds clips, certainly not in this game. Unfortunate, but nevertheless, the run is approximately half over, as you can see by my live split there. Slightly over half over, actually. So again, we're going to do a little weird corner cut here to make sure we don't nick that sub-story as we head into Koetsu's mansion, because he's got some stuff to say. So Koetsu's going to let us know that the fake Musashi is supposedly supposed to attend a tournament. Now he's supposed to attend a tournament at a place called Hozuin Temple. So that's neat. So here's another, he's supposed to show up at the dojo, but now first he's going to apparently show up at this tournament, so we can encounter him that way. Okay. So Kiryu is going to prepare to go to that tournament. But now we're going to trek all the way back to Saguya. Having learned that information, excuse me. So, we made this trek, this dangerous trek, and now we have to make it again, and make it again, and again. Again, every time we have to avoid that sub-story. Every time we have to run here. Going the other way with the taxi could be fast, except for two things. One is loads on console for PS3, which is the only available version of this game, are pretty slow. Made faster by SSD. We like to put SSDs in our PS3. Helps a little bit. With this game, it's a disc game, so it helps a little bit. Other games in this series helps a lot more. This one just a little. But the second reason we don't want to do that is because, again, that sub-story's in the way. In addition to that, there can be fight spawns over there. It's just super awkward. And it doesn't really save us any time, especially versus the scariness of the fight spawns. So we're going to go that way. Just run back and forth, which turns out to just be what we want to do. So again, Kiryu's going to head back to Kaminoya, I think it's called. And Yoshino will this time succeed at bringing Haruka out. Haruka says, "Hey, you're Miyamoto Musashi. You killed my parents. You wretch." Here it is. There's the bell. See it for half a second. That's Ukio's bell. So yeah, Haruka's not pleased. You can see the anger in her expression. Musashi says, "Well, it wasn't me. I am Musashi, but I'm not that Musashi." Regardless, I'm going to head now back to Tatsuya, where Koetsu is going to give us the information we need about where the temple is, which just puts it on our map for the purposes of gameplay. Here he is now. He's come to visit. His visit also brings with him a weird little quirk. The hatch that we go to on the left here is farther in. It's farther in than it usually is. This is the only time that occurs. It's just a different version of the map. There's no real rhyme or reason for it, but something to look out for if you are running the game. So, having received that information, we're going to taxi over to the Riverside Tea House, which is nearest to Hozuin Temple. Carefully, like so. The taxi list is getting more and more complex, so we've got to make sure that we do it correctly. We don't want to end up somewhere we shouldn't. And after a little cutscene, we will arrive at Hozuin Temple. Talk to the bald man. He refuses us entry. This is a good time to drink. It's actually, if I can manage to menu, there we go. A very important time to drink. If I can manage to talk to this old man, this is Hozuin Ine, the former master of the temple. He's got hair like an artichoke. And he is a cool dude. He's got a stick with a poof on the end. It's very loud. He's gonna manage to hit me, and then we're going to attack him. I don't know what he did to us necessarily. It's not very kind of Kiryu to slice him to pieces and stab him in the stomach like this, but didn't really happen canonically, so it's okay. This was all in Kiryu's head or something. So, having destroyed that old man, he's now going to give us a recommendation to get into the temple. He lets Kiryu know he's unhappy with how the temple is now being run by his former apprentice, who is running it as a showy tournament, essentially. He doesn't like that. So he's like, could you please set that boy right? Kiryu says, all right. So now talk to this guy and be allowed entry. But before that, Markiplier will stop us. It's the only man with glasses I can think of, except for myself, for some reason. To attend the watermelon cutting minigame, we won't be. We're going to quit out. I think I'm streaming at 30, but that minigame is the only thing in the game that is actually at 60 FPS, which is a strange thing. Regardless, we don't want to do it. Please just let us into the tournament. Thank you very much. If you're playing casually, the watermelon minigame teaches you a series of heat actions that you can use against special fights. The heat action that one teaches us would be used against the final fight in the tournament right now, but it's not that good and we wouldn't want to go through the trouble anyway, so we're going to fight this colorful character instead. Every tournament cutscene you have to press start. You can't hold start. Small little detail. Good fight. First fight. Here's the second fight. As usual in Yakuza games, we have a tournament arc. We got 3 people we gotta fight. So again, full combo into knockdown, 1-2, then into the heat stab, ideally. If we don't have heat, better to do just a series of swings. Even if we do have heat, typically better to do a series of full swings, rather than the knockdown combo, which can be quite slow. But because we're drunk, we are gaining enough heat to do a full heat move every single combo. So that is useful when we need it. This is the apprentice whose behavior we were supposed to correct, so we're going to do so by stabbing him through the chest and gut, just as we did his former master. This young upstart, ragdolling everywhere. He looks like a no-goodnik, you know? Anyway, having apparently killed him, we have set his behavior right, so all is well in the world. Hosoin Ine now reveals that he was part of a scheme to claim that Miyamoto Musashi was attending this tournament. He did that along with our old pal, Marume, who now has a hat. And Marume reveals that, yeah, he wanted to schedule a meeting with Musashi and thought that saying Musashi would be at this tournament would be a good way to do so. They have a little chat, and he says, hey, Haruka before was kidnapped by the governor because the governor's trying to take her to the Tokugawa. What's up with that? Well, she got away, obviously. Marume now says, hey, you should, we want Haruka to go to the Tokugawa, but you should protect her. She's very important, so you should protect that girl. Kiryu's like, what's that about? Marume says, nah, I'm out, peace, and leaves. We say goodbye to Ine, and on the way out, turns out his apprentice was not brutally murdered, he's fine. And he says, hey, come back again. It was a sick beating you gave me. When I've recovered from my wounds, it'll be really good to you to come back to the tournament and have fun with us again. So that's fun. But anyway, we're going to taxi on back. The mailbox slowly fills up. It's not just the pigeon. There's also a delivery guy who shows up with some mail and gives you stuff you can do, side things. But again, we're not doing any of those. Toji shows up and says, hey, come by the dojo. I gotta talk to you. Alright. Will do. First, Kiryu is going to go talk to Haruka again. No, more cutscenes. Yoshino, right, Yoshino brings Haruka along. Still not the greatest relationship between the two of them, but she's a little better. She's a little more tolerant of the idea that maybe Kiryu didn't kill her family. So, having done all that, we're now going to go to the dojo. Go talk to Gion Toji. Luckily, we don't have to run past Koetsu in order to get there. We can just take the taxi directly to the dojo. And upon getting there, I'm going to run the wrong way for a second, I seem to recall. Yep, there I go. And then we're going to talk to Gion Toji and Ueda Ryohei. Turns out that they have arranged for Kiryu to go have a duel with the fake Miyamoto Musashi. So they said, hey, the duel's all set up. You're going to go over to Rendai Field at sundown, and you're going to face off against him. He's going to show up, and you can show that fake Musashi who's boss. Sounds good. We're gonna see some results on this identity crisis. Who could it be? Revelers, please, you are in my way. Thank you very much. Before sundown, we gotta go visit Suruya one more time. Plot things. And we are allowed entry. And as you can see, everything's completely fine in there once again. Or at the very least, some room in the building is completely undisturbed by the massive fire. So, that's good. Yoshino and Kiryu share a little drink. Little chat with Haruka. She says, okay, yeah, maybe you didn't kill my parents. I don't know. You might have. I don't know. Could have. Maybe. Kiryu says, no, I didn't. Alright. The evening has arrived, so Kiryu has his scheduled duel, Musashi versus Musashi. Should be exciting. Once again, past the revelers. Oh, no, it's not yet. It is now. Now is the time. Apparently, Kiryu went to sleep first. So it must be sundown on the following day. Anyway, off we go. So once again, luckily we can taxi over there. So that's quite useful. Ma'am, you need to leave me alone. I sense that you are a sub-story. Not dealing with you today. We are heading to the farmland. Specifically, this is going to be Rendai Field. There can be a series of fight spawns. There are a series of chickens. We can avoid both by walking through the brush if we so desire. Here is the second horse of the run. Say hello. Awkwardly placed fights abound in this region. There's another one. One more incredibly inconvenient one can be right here, facing you, which is a challenge sometimes. Luckily, there's nothing today. Third horse of the run is on the left. Hello, you dashing young man. We're about to enter a fight, so we're going to drink. Give me that good stuff. That is the Nanto Morohaku. 500 drunkenness again. Couple of cutscenes, and oh no, it turns out that Seijiro is here. There's been a bamboozle. Denshichiro, his younger brother, was supposed to show up to fight Miyamoto Musashi. Seijiro came in his place, and now, because of a spot of confusion, Seijiro is going to fight Musashi to the death. Kiryu would prefer this not to occur. Seijiro has a fun little running thing he can do during his fight. If that happens, dodge away. Hopefully he's not going to do it again and you can get him before that, which I did, so that was a good recovery. Now it turns out, oh no, Kiryu is trapped at Rendai Field surrounded by dudes. Ueda Ryohei is there. Kiryu's in trouble. Luckily, the very, very, very injured Ito shows up. He's fine. Everything's good. As I said, now they're back to back and they're cool. Kiryu has to make it out of here so he can go save Denshichiro, the ugly brother, because his life is still in danger. Gion Toji is trying to kill Denshichiro. So Kiryu's got to escape here and get there to save that guy. Because saving people is the right thing to do. But first we have to navigate the Lost Woods, or this game's equivalent. This is a maze. Luckily, if you've ever looked at the notes for this game's route, or if you ever want to, Tapioca has drawn a lovely map, which is very, very useful in MS Paint. So we can get here quickly to two unsheathing guys who are terrible, and I hate them. I dodged one, got hit by the other, that's a shame. Please leave me alone, thank you very much. Now it's blocking, now I'm gonna get hit. Oh, I didn't. All good. You never know with these guys. Please don't attack me. Do a heat action. I don't know what that attack is, that's crazy that you just did that. And they love blocking your combo finishers also. They're just a disaster. Bit of a weird fight. At one point, I tried routing in a sword called the Basari Maru, which is a sword that makes it so that you can't block and can't evade attacks. It's very strong. But with a lot of testing, and around here in the run is where I found it out, is where I figured it out, it turns out being able to block and being able to evade are actually really super important. It made the run a lot more complicated. In addition to that, the Drunk Sword is substantially stronger. So we now have to run across the entire map. There's a series of fixed encounters along the way that we can avoid if we have the ability to do so. If we have the knowledge of where they occur, which we do, then we can use appropriate techniques to get past them. In this case, I know there's going to be a guy right here, so I'm going to lead him back this way and then get past him. You can also just wait for him to turn around, which I think is a lot less scary. doing it that way is a couple seconds faster. Along the way as well, if you're playing casually, you're going to notice we're passing by little glittering objects on the ground. These are always turtles. For some reason, along this route, there's like 4 turtles you can pick up. In this game, there's a turtle racing mini game, which is quite fun and a little bit in depth. You can feed the turtles, you can raise the turtles. The turtles can die. It's very sad. And you can find more turtles. There's actually a whole host of hidden turtles in various plot set pieces throughout the game, and if you miss them, then you can't unlock that variety of turtle for the rest of the save file, because it's just gone. It was over there, it's behind that hut, it was on that beach behind you, and you didn't know because you spawned in over here. You just miss it, and you don't get to do that turtle casually. So, if you're playing, look out for the turtles. No minigame beats the race cars in Yakuza. That is true. I would love in a remake of this game for Miyamoto Musashi to bring that race car energy to the turtle minigame. I would imagine that that would be fantastic. You could even have Pocket Circuit Fighter make an appearance as an excited turtle racing runner. That would be fun, I think. Anyway, there's another fight right here. Luckily, he's facing the wrong way. Coming through here, where there can be a horrendous fight spawn, there isn't, because all the fights here are forced encounters. So, or rather, they are placed encounters. So we know that there's not one there. Say hello to Watermelon Sensei as we pass by. If you're playing casually, this is where he ends up. You can do further watermelon minigame fun. There's a fight up here. Past on the right. Just what I feel like doing. I'm sure you could go on the left. Right. Another fight coming up here. No, there isn't. I'm wrong. There is, however, a turtle on the right. You'll notice. Other than that, we're continuing our run. There's various NPCs throughout this run as well, who are making idle comments about the fact that Kiryu's covered in blood. If you talk to these NPCs, they'll say, oh no, you're covered in blood. There's another turtle back there. There's one more turtle ahead for those of us collecting turtles. These are not the special turtles. These are just turtles you can collect for your turtle inventory. But there's like 4 or 5 of them. So, interesting. Last one is up here right in front. Not relevant for speedrunning, unfortunately, so we're going to run past. There's a guy on this bridge here who's very much in the way, so what we're going to do about him is nothing. After about half a second, he's going to turn around, and we can slip by him on the left. Right now, it's the best way to deal with him. You can also lead him away, which is what we have done in this game in the past. If you lead him away, he has a tendency to teleport back to his location and nab you anyway. Weird little thing, so we don't want him to do that. This is consistent. You can do that every time. Coming up now on the Gion Toji fight. Over the course of the run, we have gotten down to drunk level 4. That's still fine. Plenty of damage. We don't need more damage for this particular fight. After this cutscene, there's a little chat, and then we're going to stop Gion Toji from killing Denshichiro, the ugly brother. So the Gion Toji fight has a little bit of a gimmick. If you don't interrupt him, he will interrupt you with a series of cutscenes where he brings dudes into the fight. That's slow. So we're going to switch to single sword, full combo into the wall as best we can so we don't go too far. Give him 1-2 hits, give him the heat action because we will have heat because we are drunk. Swing on him twice, ideally, into that. There you go. Simple as that. He gets a fake out death. There's a QTE here. It is triangle. Kiryu gets to be a badass now and beat the shit out of Gion Toji. Isn't that wonderful? If we didn't do that, you gotta fight him again. Slow, so obviously we don't want to do that. That was a fantastic Gion Toji fight. Really, really good. So we're happy about that. that's the end of the chapter. Losing a touch of time, but that is okay. 4 minutes, essentially. Cannot be unhappy about that. Then Shichiro, the ugly brother, is safe. So, now that their lead on the fake Musashi turned out to be false, well, first, Kiryu has got to recover because he suffered grievous cutscene wounds, and so he's having a bad time. But once these many cutscenes resolve themselves, our boys are going to figure out what they should do, because the fake Musashi was constructed by Gion Toji. I didn't actually cover that. Gion Toji and Ueda Ryohei they concocted the story of the false Musashi in order to kill the Yoshioka brothers and usurp the dojo, and then their idea was they would blame it on Miyamoto Musashi because he had sent a challenge to the dojo, and then the brothers were dead. Then the real Musashi shows up, Gion Toji recognizes him, and that's where the plot went forward from there. It's quite a silly contrivance, but regardless, that's what was going on there. So the fake Musashi doesn't exist. It was constructed by those two. So now, what do? A strange old man arrives right now. There he is. Wealthy old man who is, I believe, a patron of Koetsu, who again is a painter. He's called the Old Fox, or maybe the Tanuki, I'm not certain of which. Regardless, the Old Fox wants to go to Tsuruya at night to go meet with someone who he says is a relative of his working at Tsuruya. Before that, to kill time, Kiryu's going to show him around town. So, because of that, the sub-story's not here. Hooray! Fight spawns can still be here, and are. For example, that man is a fight spawn, which we would like very much to avoid. Scary. Luckily, this sub-story is also not here, so we can slip past on the left. So, we don't care too much about pleasing this guy, so we're going to give him the cheap life. Buy the first item on this menu. Doesn't matter to us. We don't care. He wants particular things, and if we can provide them for him, casually speaking, he will give you like 6 figures money. Very useful. In the route prior to this, we did slightly better with him to get slightly more money from him. In this route, we don't care. We don't need the money at all. We don't have the money sword. We don't need the additional money. So we're just going to move on and do all the cheapskate things that we can possibly do. Right now, we're going to go to Rakugan Show. So we have to navigate all these fight spawns first. Doesn't matter that he's lagging behind. Look at him leaving on the minimap there. There he goes. If you were looking at him on the minimap, you might have missed that fight spawn there. It's okay. You're just viewing. And so am I, because I played the game earlier. I'm also just viewing. Now we're going to go to the dice table. We're going to show him a good time. Roll a few dice. Tickle those ivory dice. There can be a fight spawn in front of the dice. There is, unfortunately. We're actually going to say no for the dice. We don't want that. But after that, there is a mandatory fight. Not the fight spawn from before. A mandatory fight before that. So we want to make sure that we avoid that fight spawn as we're coming out of this fight. First, we're going to drink. Our sake supply is dwindling. It's actually perfect. We have exactly the amount that we need. There is an unsheathed guy. He's awful. He's the one wearing the matcha-colored shirt. He's going to get me a couple times. That's unfortunate, but that's fine. Get behind him. Do a few swings. Bob's your uncle. Small little note that I suppose I could make. When you knock someone down, if they're near a wall, sometimes they can fall in a way where you can't be hitting them as they're falling. They just fall too fast. That falls the slow fall. Earlier, the matcha colored guy did the quick fall, which means I wouldn't have been able to hit him. Luckily, he was, I think, already dead at that point, or I got a stab on him or whatever. But regardless, you got to watch out for that. If you're running, hold right to get away from that guy who's going to try to fight. Now we're going to show up at the, I like to say circus, but I think it's more of, you know, what would have traditionally been called the freak show. He wants to see a show. There's a monkey there that you can see. We don't care about the monkey. So we're going to say, no, I'm not really interested. Then we're going to head around the corner to White Snake Udon, where again, we are going to disappoint this patron and get him the least expensive thing there, at the very least the first thing on the list, because we don't care. We just want to go fast, so we're going to do that. Some 60 mon soup. No skin off our back. This one he actually doesn't mind. The thing at the tea house he was not a fan of. I think that one he's actually kind of okay with. Doesn't matter. He now wants to go play some shogi. Alright. We're going to head to the shogi parlor. Very important when we get to the shogi parlor. We're going to be offered two options. We want the bottom option. The top option would say, I'm going to beat you at shogi no matter what, sir. And the bottom option is, I don't really care if I win or lose, it's fine. Very important to pick the bottom option because we are going to lose. We're going to intentionally quit out, which is a loss. We can't do that if we pick the top option. We'll just keep cycling through until we beat him at shogi. So that would be a run-ender. When we leave the shogi parlor, we will encounter another fight. People want this rich man's money, so they're trying to get him. But we will get them with our purple sword. He got us first. These two are flipping around, which is interesting. Also, you may notice, this is the same unsheathing guy, so he's going to be weird and block a lot again. But yeah, these two guys, for some reason, are incredibly acrobatic, despite the age of at least one of them. They don't look like they would possess that degree of athleticism, but especially in their clothing. But nevertheless, they must be cut down. Now, having thoroughly disappointed the old fox, we are going to return him to the gate in Guion, where he will let us know that we've let him down. Doesn't matter. And then we have to slip back through Tatsuya to meet him on the other side, which he doesn't seem to find suspicious at all, so that's all well and good. So, as we are leaving Tatsuya, who do we encounter? Not only the old fox, but also Majima, formerly Baiken, currently Baiken, and also Majima because he knows... because Kiryu told him that he's Majima, but he's also still, like, he's got the memories of Baiken exclusively. So anyway, he wanted to come hang out with his bro Kiryu, so he just happened to show up, and the three of us, the old fox says, yeah, okay, whatever. So the three of us are going to have a good time at Saruya. So, head on down the street. He's got a bit of a wacky run cycle, that guy. Fast friends, these three. I haven't really commented on this point, but you'll notice I'm pointing my camera very specifically downwards here. Oftentimes I'll be pointing it at walls. That's because the PS3 loves to brutally chug. It can only hit 30 FPS at the best of times on this game, even though it's only running at 720p internally. So we want to be careful wherever possible to try to stop that from occurring. Here, the old fox reveals that the relative he was talking about is actually Haruka, and he intends to buy her her freedom. Great. Fantastic. Everything's resolved. Things couldn't be better. He's related to her. He is actually her grandfather. So, hey, that's good. Meanwhile, Majima has gone up on a roof, falls off that roof, hits his head, remembers that he's Majima, then remembers that Musashi has that bell on his hilt, says, hey, what's up with that? It's my sister's bell. Actually, Haruka is carrying the bell, but regardless, he runs into Haruka. He says, oh, hey, what's up, little girl? And he has just kidnapped her. So that's not good, dude. Don't do that. Haruka has been kidnapped. So now, that attendant just walked in and said, hey, weird things are occurring. That's strange. We don't want that to happen. So off Kiryu goes to prevent them from occurring. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is a jump scare pigeon coming up. Yeah. There it is. Don't be scared. It's fine. Press start. Skip the text. It can be... There's one later that's scarier, to be honest. Cutscene first, and then we are off to go save Haruka. Why have you taken her, Majima? Why? It's because he thinks that Kiryu has done something to his sister. We will carefully taxi over here, head through the forest. We're going to go to Kiyomizu Temple. Luckily, there are no fight spawns in this forest ever in this part, I believe. Might be wrong about that, but I have not yet encountered one. You can see, unfortunately, the lucky horse is also gone, so that tells us this is a special outing. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no fight spawns here. We're maximum drunk, so we should see a fight spawn if there were one. This lamp guy is always here, that guy back there is always there, so yeah. I believe that's also a turtle. We are off to Kiyomizu Temple, very famous location in Kyoto, very real location. There's a famous phrase about something to do with leaping from the top part of the temple, leap from the stage of Kiyomizu-dera. I forget exactly what the phrasing is, but there's a famous phrase about leaping off of it. Regardless, we have a set piece here. All of Baiken's guys are here guarding the place, so we've got to cut them down. 3 hits will do for the vast majority, which is lovely. Double up if possible, as always. That guy back there was one of the guys who will dash in and stab you if you're not careful. We want to deal with those when possible. These guys have more health, and they will grab you. Unfortunate, but still a full combo will do. Very good if we can get into the wall, because that means we don't have too much distance to travel. So we're just going to dispatch these guys. More of them will sort of spawn around us, but that's fine. We're just going to keep killing and killing with our fancy purple sword till we have taken them all out. There I could have done a slash, but I didn't want to go too far. This now is a random QTE, so you have to wait. Today it is X. It is substantially slower to fail it, so we do have to wait rather than just sort of blindly mashing. Archers here take 3 hits. After the archers, there's going to be a new mechanic introduced. First of all, it doesn't matter where we're standing here. After a period of time, we're going to be introduced to the new mechanic. I'm going to go over here just for fun. You don't have to be over here. You can be anywhere. Holding R1X so we can quickly skip text. This guy hands us a bomb. Now that he's finally done talking to us, I'm going to run directly into this torch to just barely blow up that wall. You can also just walk over and set the bomb down, but that's funnier, so let's do that. Now we're going to proceed to sprint, hopefully throughout this whole section. We don't want to get touched by these arrows, which will slow us down. We don't want to get grabbed. This section of the game has horrendous slowdown. If you've ever played Yakuza Dead Souls, very similar. We've got a lot of fire, we've got a lot of enemies, so we've got a lot of slowdown. At least on my console, things do vary a great deal, actually. I'm going to break down these barricades with arrows sticking out of us. Putting away the sword also counts as a hit sometimes, so that can be a useful technique. So we're going to take out this barricade. We took out the one before. We have one more to go after this. There are dudes everywhere. So you can see the game chugging a little bit. Especially right here, I think I recall. Yeah, it's a little bit slow. It can get worse than that too. Now, over here there is a hut. This hut contains a man. This man will give us a bomb. Unfortunately, because of the slowdown, I'm going to get exploded. Wow, look at that frame rate. That sucks. So, after the very slow get up, I'm going to grab another bomb. Do it again. So as you can see, getting hit by a fire arrow with a bomb, you explode. Not good, we don't want that. Going to hopefully avoid all these. Incredible slowdown. Game is chugging like hell. Getting into here with a bomb. Oh no, the door is closed. If we didn't have a bomb, we would have to do a whole thing here where we fight a bunch of guys in order to get a bomb to blow up a wall. Instead, I'm going to take this bomb to the wall and get shot by that fire arrow to blow it up quicker. We're going to go up the stairs. After we get up, there are 2 QTs. Well, first, there's this QTE, which is always circle, I believe. Yeah. Then we're going poor guy. Then we're going to take this side path here, where our old friend, the flaming boulder, is going to be thrown down our way. What I'm going to do about that is just run into it. You can also block it with your bare hands, which is quite funny. But when you block it, there's still a lingering hitbox. This is triangle always. So it's better to just run into it, because you're going to get hit anyway. This is also a fight we want to run into. Just sprint right in. Many key fights, like boss fights throughout the game, you'll pull out your dual swords like automatically, because that's Musashi's trademark thing in history, was dual swords. He was very unique for that. So we're going to pull out dual swords, which means I'm not going to bother pulling out my single sword before the fight. I'm going to pull it out now. I don't think Majima bullies me here. Important to keep him away from these urns. When he climbs up on these urns, he'll swing his Kusarigama at you, and he'll also do something which in the game file is called the Tarzan kick, where he will chain himself up to a beam and literally swing like Tarzan and kick you. Or just have a good time, because what we would do at that point is run away from him. Regardless, he didn't do that. It was actually a really good fight. So, good chapter once again. And after one cutscene, in the cutscene here, I'll just comment now. I think this is a gold. Yeah, that's wow. Thumbs up. I love that. In the cutscene that just occurred there, Haruka's grandfather shows up. Haruka there was chained up. Kojiro shows up before that. And Kojiro's like, hey, Musashi, I'm going to fight you now. This is a good time for us to fight. And then Haruka's grandpa shows up. And Kojiro's like, oh, I recognize him. And Grandpa's like, hey, can you, like, leave? And Kojiro's like, oh, yeah, actually, I will leave, and listens to him. That's weird. What's up with that? Well, as we can see from these cutscenes, where I kind of failed to skip the cutscene effectively, this big procession is for Haruka's grandfather, who it turns out is Ieyasu Tokugawa. I've been talking about the Tokugawa clan this whole time. Ieyasu Tokugawa is the famous shogun from around this period. Looks like this. He was referred to as a tanuki. He had the physicality of a tanuki, and as you can see, he kind of looks like a sort of fat little raccoon man. He always had that. His hair looks like this. Is how he looks. So, surprise! Haruka's grandfather is Ieyasu Tokugawa, meaning Haruka is a Tokugawa. In fact, she is actually the child of his son, who Musashi killed earlier in the game. That being said, the parents that Haruka was referring to dying were not her actual father. but was fake parents who she was given to in order to keep her safe after her father died. And she didn't remember that that was her real parents, so the fake parents became the real parents in her mind. And the fake Musashi killed the fake parents, and the real Musashi killed the real father, but she doesn't remember that, and that's all forgiven and is actually okay. So, thumbs up. So Haruka is gonna live happily ever after, go off with her grandfather. Everything's great. At this point in history, I suppose it could be noted, Ieyasu Tokugawa was no longer like the sitting emperor. Technically, his other son was currently, or not emperor, sorry, shogun. Technically, his other son was currently shogun, but Tokugawa was still like ruling behind the scenes as the shogun. He just like abdicated early in order to set up a power structure and like an heir structure. So there's a whole hierarchical thing going on here, politically speaking. The shogun is essentially the de facto ruler of Japan, even though the emperor exists. If you don't know Japanese history, that's kind of what's going on. So he's essentially, he may as well be the emperor. He's the wartime ruler of Japan. The last tip he gave Kiryu there, right before leaving, was that Kiryu should go visit a place called Yagyu Village, which we see appear on the map here. Yagyu Village is where he says Kiryu will get the information that he would like to possess. So Kiryu says, all right, hey, hot tip, let's go. So we're taxi on down there. On the way, there will be fight spawns in this forest once again, so we would want to watch out for those. Our favorite horse is back. We don't have time to look because there's fight spawns, so we got to avoid the fights. There's one. This is our path. That's the only path we can take to Yagyu Village, so we got to go this way. So there's that fight spawn back there. There's this one. This is really inconvenient when they're facing you like that. Here, I saw that he didn't see me, so I said, all right, let's just go. It was fine. Some fight spawns, the way that they work is not they see you and chase you. It is you'll pass them by and a little scene will happen. Like that one is probably something akin to he yells out to you and you have to do a QTE and then he does a slice. Oh no, we got a fight spawn. This is actually not. It's a mandatory sub-story that we have to do. This is as good a time as any to drink, so we will. And we will just cut them down and move on with our lives. They all take 3 hits. They're kind of nothing special. I won't even bother taking up the single sword because, again, 3 hits. Using dual swords is actually still pretty good. In terms of damage scaling, it becomes 70% of the damage of the single sword. But it's a little faster, so it kind of evens out. It literally evens out. It's basically the same DPS, but we prefer single sword most times anyway. Regardless, because it has a knockdown. That's the main reason. It has a knockdown and it has a 4th hit in the combo because we were forced to get that 4th hit from Scarecrow, from the Scarecrow training with Koetsu earlier. So that's why we use the single sword primarily. But it's actually, we could use either, and in certain places in the run, it's okay to just use dual swords because we're going to use the same damage. Check out this cool map as Kiryu walks to Yagyu Village. Neat. When Kiryu arrives at Yagyu Village, they say, hey, why are you here? What are you doing here? You causing trouble? And because of that, we have to have this disgusting fight with all these guys. We have an unsheathing guy with a ton of health. He is nasty. So we want to avoid getting hurt by him whenever possible. And we want to kill him as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, he does blend in with the rest. So I'm going to do my best to hurt him. Another problem with that is that after he's had a certain amount of damage dealt to him, a second group of enemies will show up, including this incredibly annoying guy with armor. So we now have to avoid the armor guy. I knocked the guy down, so hopefully I can continue to deal with him because he's going to be getting up as a result of that. And I did. it doesn't usually go that way. Often you get bullied aggressively in this fight, so that was actually really good. I'm still going to be bullied in this fight, but less so because the unsheathing guy is now dead. The armor guy is a nightmare. He flies around like a crazy ninja. He's got some unique moveset. Normal sword doesn't do anything to do him, really. We have to get the great sword out so we can begin to chip off that armor. And he doesn't stagger at all. He doesn't care. The club might do a little better for staggering, but I really don't think it does. This is the bullying I'm talking about, by the way. They see that Kiryu can't move quickly, so they do that. Now that his armor's off, he's even faster, but we can get to him with the drunk sword, so we will. Lovely. Now we can bully them, hopefully. You saw there, I may as well point this out now, or you may or may not have noticed, you can do a thing where you swing back and forth, one swing left, one swing right, and you can keep doing it forever and it'll just do the first hit of the combo rather than continuing the combo. So you can actually like cycle between two enemies if they're between you infinitely, essentially. And that can be, if you're between them rather, and that can be useful in certain situations. Anyway, we realize now that the leader of the Yagyu village is the old monk from earlier in the game. This is Yagyu Seki Shusai, I believe is his name. Yeah, I think so. It turns out he is the leader of this village. He's not evil or anything. He didn't send those guys to attack us just now. He hasn't been doing anything malicious over the course of the game. It just turns out he's actually this guy, the leader, the former leader of the Yagyu family, who is now retired in Yagyu village. His son, Yagyu Munenori, is now the de facto head of their family while he's retired at this village. Yagyu Munenori, it turns out, is actually Sasaki Kojiro. Can you believe it? Sasaki Kojiro, if you recall, is the guy who we've basically not seen because he's only really in cutscenes. He cut Majima's eye. He's the guy Kiryu's trying to get revenge on. Also, Marume's here. What's going on? Marume is a terrible fight, so let's watch that for a moment. I think it actually does pretty well. No, it doesn't. He knocks me down. It's horrible. If Marume knocks you down, it sucks. He gets this like red heat. You gotta dodge around him, try to bully him. He's gonna bully you back. Unfortunately, he's gonna do the same things he's been doing since he beat you up in Chapter 1. But this time we want to beat him up, so we're going to do our best to not let him. Pretty good Marume. That's alright. Marume has gone away from the evil people because they wanted him to kill... Okay. Marume is the one who killed Haruka's fake parents. Still good time. That's great. Marume is the one who killed Haruka's fake parents. But he was then asked to kill Haruka herself and refused to do so because she was a child. Because you gotta draw the line somewhere. So he went away from the villains at that point and is now, as we've seen, kind of a good guy, which is why he was with his cool hat meeting up with Musashi earlier and saying, hey, you gotta protect Haruka, because he's now on the side of good and justice. Yay. So Marume just there was at Yagyu village, and he said, hey, to prepare you for when you fight Sasaki Kojiro, who recall is actually Yagyu Munenori, and also that will never be important again. It's not important at all. It's just Yagyu Munenori is an actual historical figure in Japanese history, whereas Sasaki Kojiro existed, presumably, and had his famous duel with Miyamoto Musashi, but dies in that duel and then is obviously no longer important because he's just the guy who lost to Musashi. In this game, Kojiro is made more important by being Yagyu Munenori, and we'll see what happens with that when we come to it. Not much, but a little. So Marume said, hey, I'll train you so you can fight with Sasaki Kojiro because we use the same fighting style. So that's what was going on with that boss fight. Oh no, it's Sasaki Kojiro. What's going on? Well, Kiryu, you may have noticed, was in a little bit of fun there for a second. He's getting married soon to Yoshino. They're in love. Cutscenes. Regardless, he's like, hey, where's Haruka? What's going on with that? Where's she at? And they're like, people are like, no, it's fine. She's, she probably ran away or something. She's a kid. Turns out Sasaki Kojiro kidnapped Haruka a second time. Unfortunate. So Kojiro says, hey, I kidnapped Haruka. By the way, here he is. This is Sasaki Kojiro. This is really the best first look we get at him over the course of the 3-hour run. He's briefly in the back of the dual sword tutorial, you might notice, but now here he is. He's, he's cool. He's got long hair, whatever. Shows up a lot more in cutscenes. Regardless, he says, hey, I've got Haruka. Come have a fight with me. It'll be sick. Ito says, hey, I've got a sword at the blacksmith. Go pick up the sword. He won't let us go. Please let us go, Ito. We just want to leave. Okay, thank you. That having happened, we can now go recover the sword from the blacksmith. It's a fantastic sword. It's like base 95 damage, 100 pressure, speed, fast or very fast. It's a very good sword. We're not gonna use it because the drunk sword still out damages it around drunk level 3. The drunk sword is insanely powerful. The sword you get from defeating Amon is like on par with the drunk sword at DL5. Like it's insanely good. Regardless, we have to go to the blacksmith to pick up Ito-Sai's famous sword, which is the Kuji Kane Sada. Has 9 characters inscribed on the blade. It's a famous sword in Japanese history. We won't be using it, but we have to pick it up, so we're going to go do that. Go taxi down there, save a couple of seconds. And there he is again. It's our favorite blacksmith with his hat. And now he's gone. You can go there throughout the game, by the way. Blacksmith your weapons up. It's typically incremental increases in damage, and then you get big steps up as they change into like swords with different names. There's not much we can do with that. There are some swords that are quite good through the blacksmithing, but it's an excessive process. We need a lot of money. We need a lot of items. We need various things, which we don't have. Yoshino is hanging out. Gonna have a conversation. Again, they're in love. Who knows how it happened? It's a cutscene of some nature, Love is a mysterious thing. But now that they've shared one last night together, here you can head off to go to Koetsu's mansion, because Koetsu is going to tell us how to get on a boat and head to where we're going. Unfortunately, that means that one last couple of times we have to tempt fate and head past that Money Eater sub-story, which is still there and can still lose us 2 minutes over the course of the run. That is a run killer. Unfortunate. Also, fight spawn. Unfortunate. Luckily avoided it. That can go way worse. Again, corner cutting into the entrance of the mansion there. We have to make sure, because the sub-story will catch us if we walk in normally. We gotta cut that corner a little bit. Talk to him. He says, hey, you want to change the time of day? No, we don't. So we leave. Final jump scare pigeon coming up now in the nastiest place possible, right here. Terrible, horrendous place. Fight spawn on the left, sub-story on the right. We're already scared. We're jumping out of our seats. There's a fight spawn there. What's going on? There's another fight spawn in front of me. What's going on? Crazy. Anyway, we're safe. We're home free. It's all good. But yeah, that pigeon is horrendously placed. if we are trying to go fast, which we are. We're going to taxi now to the Riverside Tea House so we can begin the finale proper. We have exactly the sake we need, two bottles. Bottom option to leave on the boat. Important thing to note, you cannot drink the sake before the finale, before you get on this boat, because you will be made sober by this cutscene. So you have to drink once you've gotten on the boat and gone through these cutscenes, and the fight begins with Sasaki Kojiro coming up right now. This is the historical duel that Musashi had famously with Sasaki Kojiro. In history, he actually treated him like an asshole. It was actually not what Kiryu would do at all, which is quite funny. Regardless, we're gonna fight him. We're gonna carefully, again, he's got the same style as Marume, so we're gonna try to treat him in the same way, which is knock him down, don't let him get up if we can, attack him as he's going down, repeat. Same thing we've been doing all game, but it's harder with the Marume and the Marume likes, like Sasaki Kojiro. Great fight, though. It was actually really good. I should note, by the way, we're going into this finale minus 523. What the hell is that? I don't even know. That's crazy. I do know, however, that in this final chapter in my previous runs, and this is not in my like sum of best or anything, it's not represented, I lost 2 minutes by going the wrong way stupidly. So I actually have an additional 2 minutes saved on top of that. So it's actually more like 723. So that's nice. Here, surrounded by this impossibly large group of guys with spears who encircle you and you will stab yourself if you get close. We have to attack all these guys. Most of them take 2 hits. Some of them take 3. At this point, for the smaller enemies, this sword is basically the same as the Kujikani Sada that we would have otherwise picked up. Excuse me. For boss enemies, it's still going to do substantially more damage, so for that purpose, it's still very useful to have. However, if you were out of sake at this point because you just couldn't buy enough earlier, one backup you could use would be to equip the Kujikani Sada. The other backup would be when you taxi to the Riverside Tea House. This is triangle, by the way. This QT is always triangle. This just happens when you kill enough enemies. When you taxi to the Riverside Tea House, you might just want to pick up a couple of sake. Depending on how much you need, you can buy the sake that is directly above the Mugwort Dongo in the list. That will give you 380 drunkenness, so depending on what you have in your inventory, you're going to want to buy 1 or maybe 3. So that you want to get to 1,000. You want to get to drunk level 5. So above 800 is good, 1,000 is best if you need to recover. You'll notice these armor guys have spawned in. They need great swords. Bow guys have spawned in. They take 2 hits, but they're going to shoot us with arrows, so we want to get rid of them as best we can. These armored guys are nasty. Also, slowdown begins to occur in this area pretty dramatically. The ninjas that spawned in earlier, they spawn in after a certain number of dudes die. Here they go again. Again, the QT is triangle. There's 4 of them. They have guns. 2 hits apiece, so you want to run in and take care of them when they spawn. Eventually, when we finally run out of enemies, we will take out our greatsword and start whittling the armor off of these guys. Unfortunately, you basically have to kill every enemy that spawns in for these armor guys to all spawn in. So at a certain point, it just becomes better. Also, watch out, there's one sheathing guy, only one. There he is. Not all the armor guys are going to spawn in by the time I take out the greatsword. It is what it is. It's a good enough weapon to attack with for the guys who remain who will file in. Also, let's go ahead and talk about the plot for a second while I'm sort of being knocked down by these guys and failing to kill them. Haruka was kidnapped by Sasaki Kojiro. Sasaki Kojiro is working with a man named Nanboku, I think is his name. Is Tenkai. His name's Tenkai. And Tenkai is up there in the... He's got the weird... You're going to see him in a bit. He's wearing purple, and he's got a weird hat. He is like a special advisor to the Tokugawa. And by kidnapping Haruka, it's his idea to marry her off to someone in order to usurp what is essentially the throne, right? They're not the emperor, but they're as good as. So his idea is, we've got Haruka, we can marry her off because she is a Tokugawa in this game. So we can marry her off and gain political power that way by having someone who can essentially usurp things. Because Tenkai... part of the scheming of killing Haruka's real father was to get the other brother into power, but the other brother is now not really listening to them, so they want to just seat someone else who will listen to them, which means, I guess, marrying Haruka off. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, actually, but in the Yakuza series, that is often the case. Which is fine. There he is. He's a little crybaby. He's going to be running around, dragging Haruka around through the rest of this set piece. He puts, I mean, I won't spoil it, but he's bald, and he puts us bald men to shame. It's sad what he does. I don't condone it. I don't condone his actions. I don't condone the way he acts, which is like a baby. Regardless, here are the Power Rangers. These are the historically accurate Super Sentai right in front of us. No joke, not only are their masks matching Power Ranger colors, essentially, in the code, they are referred to as red, white, black, blue, and yellow. Literally, those are their names in the code. The first two QTs you saw, I failed the first one. That's faster. I'm also going to fail the last one. Failing the last one is also faster. But yeah, it's slow all the same. We gotta go through this series of cutscenes QTEs as we encounter the 5 Power Rangers. And we will see them again shortly. For now, they've miraculously disappeared, because they're all also ninjas. So, what's this rumbling noise? Well, Tenkai has bombed the bridge. Unfortunate, because it means that this set piece is going to get longer. So although he can conveniently go that way, we're going to survive this fall and go through that locked gate, ideally. First, however, we will encounter Yellow. These QTs, by the way, are always the same. None of them are random, so... have a little chat with Yellow. He can do something, I think, with these poles. I've actually never witnessed it. He might hop up on top of them or something. He's also just annoying. He's got like a great sword and he throws these daggers at you, so I'm going to try to dodge around him. That first hit often just misses, which is lovely. And that was fantastic. You can't ask for a better Yellow fight than that. He can really be awful. He'll knock you down. Every time we beat one of these Power Rangers, we have to go to them and get a key from their belt, and it's a really awkward interaction, so you have to approach them in the right way. You want to be holding up so that you get the right option, but you don't want to press X too soon, because then you'll just dodge around like an idiot. Be very careful of that. In the other routes, we get an item here. I'm not going to bother. The Drunk Sword is good enough that I don't care, as you're going to see, not with the next Power Ranger, but the one after that. First, we have to see this overview of the castle. We see all these interestingly dressed archers. This guy, for some reason, we really linger on. We're never going to go see them. You can physically go to their location in game. You can fight them. There's no reason to. There's like a weapon over there you can get that's unique, but it doesn't help us in any way. Even casually, it's not a particularly helpful weapon. There's just kind of no reason to ever go visit those guys. We're going to grab a bomb here. We had to go interact with that wall earlier, so we can interact with this now. So we'll grab a bomb, run it back. There's no like fire tricks we can do this time. There is a torch near the wall, but it's not near enough to blow up. The fire arrow guys can't really get an arrow to us to blow us up fast, so we have to set it down. That's fine. That allows us to build up running speed, so we can get a little bit of speed going off of this, save a couple of frames. So we're going to run up here, and I'm going to take out my single sword right before we get to the trigger for this QTE. X again? Yeah. Or white. Now white has sort of like a magical aura. You never want to be a dodgy idiot, that's exactly right. White has a sort of magical aura that gives him like an armor. You don't have to use the greatsword to pop the armor though, you can continue using the single sword. That being said, he's really obnoxious and can do things like this. You just gotta obnoxiously mash triangle for a long time. He doesn't do that if you pull up the greatsword. The problem is the greatsword is really slow, and he can still like knock you out of your greatsword attack animations, so that's also slow. If you get lucky with this, you'll miss that QTE. Like I've only ever seen that QTE once running this game, but like once the armor's popped, he just takes normal damage and it's all good. Eventually, if you're playing casually, he'll get it back, but that won't happen on easy mode, so it's fine. Once again, after Tenkai has his little baby blow up, we have to go pick up a key from that guy's belt, which is awkward. As you can see, that's what happens when you are a dodgy idiot. So once again, grabbing a bomb, setting it down, running against the other side. I'm actually going to squander it here by dodging in a bad way. But that's fine. Life goes on, moves ever forward. This QTE, we mash X for black. Now, this guy is nasty. Again, first he's going to have a little chat. I'm going to run around behind him and pick up a cart. I've got enough heat for a nice little heat action. Here I believe I try to go for a cheeky swing. Doesn't work, he just blocks it, but that's fine. So we're going to do the heat action. I'm going to pull out my sword and just try to damage him down. And that's good enough. It deals a lot of damage. Sometimes he can give you a little hug, grab you. That's slow, obviously. I don't think it's worth worrying about. Like, at that point, he's only going to need one more hit. Your mileage may vary. You might want to do something safer. You can bring a heat item and you can use the card a second time. Heat actions in this game don't get stale, so you can do them again and again, and they do the same amount of damage, which is lovely. Doesn't really benefit us in the run to a large degree, but with the cart you can use it twice there, and that would be fine. Out here, we've got an abundance of ninjas and other things, and some spear guys awaiting us for some reason. It's because Tenkai's in a window laughing. What a funny little guy. Technically, you can skip that cutscene entirely if you only stay on this side of the trigger. But that's really slow because the enemies will have to come to visit you, and you have to deal with all the enemies regardless, so you may as well go and visit them. As best I can, although I'm going to do a poor job of it, there's a little nook off to the side there that I'm trying to keep in view, so that dudes don't spawn in the nook, because if these bow guys spawn in the nook, I will have to chase them into the nook, and that sucks. I don't do a good job of it, but it's fine. It ends up being fine. The fight in general is going quite slowly, however, because they're all like spread out and I'm doing it in a weird way. Like over here, I'm gonna take a whole dash. I didn't mean to, but what is it? You know, what are you gonna do? Anyway, slowly beating up these guys. Eventually, we will be done beating up these guys. Lovely little vista there. We are on Ganryu Island, Ganryu Jima if you like, which is the famous location of the duel between Musashi and Sasaki Kojiro. I should also mention, I guess, during the cutscene after beating Kojiro, rather than dying, as he did in real life, he says, oh, I'm going to become a good guy now. Recall he is actually, this is Triangle, recall he is Yagyu Munenori, so he says, I'm gonna be good now, and I'm gonna not be evil. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. We'll see what comes of it. For now, I'm gonna roll towards this guy and just beat on him. If you do a combo, it typically doesn't work. Better to just continue to wail on him. What can happen if he blocks is that he will do a little flip over to the other dock, and you have to run all the way around to get over there to go finish him off. So it's better to just do that. He doesn't seem to block it. You just beat him to death, and that's fine too. This interaction here I find to be really awkward, so I'm going to slowly walk into it. Because otherwise I'm just going to roll all over the place again, be a dodgy idiot. Put our thing away so we can run. Ideally we wouldn't get grabbed by this guy. We will, however, get grabbed by this guy. We're going to enter this doorway. Next, we're going to pop this chain. All the standards are coming back from all the set pieces. 1 and 2. Grab that just for fun. Could be useful. I think it's a heat item. As we're running down this long corridor, if you're playing the game casually, on the left up here, you can pick up a sword against the wall behind you there, called the Sword of the Soul. It's a good sword. Sells for 6 figures if you want to sell it. Otherwise, I think it has a unique dual sword pairing, so it does good damage that way. Otherwise, you'd also, if you're trying to collect all the swords, you would have to smith it, and that it's just materials, so it's there. Pick it up. Tenkai has locked us in. He's got all these nefarious little traps. It's very funny. We're going to pull out our single sword. This QT, I believe, is Circle. For Red, the final Power Ranger. Red has a tendency to not only jump around and throw things at you, but also, if you don't deal all the damage to him that you would like, he will turn into a cloud and then become many ninjas. And then you can see his dot running around on the mini-map, roaming around, because he's like invisible, but you can't do anything about it, he's just a dot, so it's kind of annoying and pointless. That's where he will eventually rematerialize, but first you have to kill like 10 ninjas. Anyway, again, we have to pick up a key off of him. Tenkai is furious at this point. All the Power Rangers have been wiped out. I don't know what you expected, to be perfectly honest. This is Miyamoto Musashi. He's cool. So, go towards his legs. You don't want to go the other way, because towards his legs is where this chain is, so we can pop this bridge. And go down. Down, 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 we pop. Down we trot. This is a lovely area, by the way. Visually very appealing. Unfortunate to roll into the door like that, but visually this area is really appealing. I like this a lot. He's going to do a little clap, because he's in fist mode. He claps when he's in fist mode. Here I'm going to eat a safety heal. Later on, the final boss of the game, you'll never guess who it is, can deal immense amounts of damage to you. You would never expect that much damage could be dealt, but he can. So better to heal rather than to risk anything, bad happening. We don't want that. First, there's a ship. What's that item down there? We're never going to pick it up. I think it is actually a sword, but we don't need it. Ninjas fall from the sky, so we had better cut them down. At this point, by the way, I'm playing the game and I'm looking at my timer and I'm thinking, oh, I have 7 minutes stored up, because I have those 5 minutes, and like I said, I have 2 additional minutes, so I'm sitting pretty on 7 minutes. I'm feeling really good about this time right now, because these ninjas are nothing, and then we've got the final boss. That's it, right? So I'm pretty happy with this run overall already. I'm like, this is great. This is cake. Not cake isn't easy, but like I have so much time saved up, I could not feel any less than fantastic about this run where I'm at currently sitting. I'm like, here we go, final boss is gonna be great. Then I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, wait. We did have my prior time, as you can see, is at 3:05. We have what I think is 7 minutes of time clocked. But this is the final boss right here. We're there. We're done. What's that about? What that's about is I just had a really good finale. So, here's the final boss. It is, would you believe it, Tenkai, but he's got guns. He is, as we say, a Rase from other games. He's got the same moveset where he's shooting guns and doing flips, and it's kind of weird that he has it, but there he is. He shoots you, he does a ton of damage, he can kill you for sure. Regardless, he's toast now, that's it, we've got him locked down. Time is when the cutscene comes up after the final hit, which is now. So that's time. Great. I couldn't be happier to see, not only is that a gold, but that's a -10. That's breathtaking. Tenkai falls off that cliff. Unfortunately, he is not dead. He's just sniveling. Again, like I said, making the world look bad for us balds. Thank you, dear. Who shows up to stop Kiryu but the current shogun, Takegawa something, I forget his name. It's the other son. He's the Hidetada. He's the other son of Tokugawa, so other things. I skipped some Shura, that's right. It's kind of like, you know, my favorite thing to do in Sekiro is to use the purple flame thing and then like set your sword on fire with it. And I love how it looks too, so I really love that the drunk sword in this game is purple. That's really fun for me. So I do like to compare it to Sekiro in that way. But yes, don't murder. Murder is bad. Sure, ending is not good. Great credits theme, by the way. This is fantastic. He is probably bald by choice. That is true. I am bald by nature. And also by choice to some degree, but yes, naturally my hair is... it's like this in the wind. Fantastic run. Wow, I couldn't be happier with how that run went. Sub 3 is fantastic. 255 is a lot better. That's a really fantastic result. As you can see, my sum of best is 254.39, so we're only 30 seconds off from that. Yeah. Fantastic. Couldn't be happier with that Kenzan run. That's great. What happens in the plot at this point? I skipped some cutscenes there. Right, Tenkai has the opportunity to get back up and say, hey, look out, and Kiryu turns around and there's like 100 ships on the horizon. And Kiryu says, oh no, ships. And then army comes off of the ships. Kiryu says, hey, I'll buy you time, go off and I'll buy you time by fighting this entire army that just came off of this ship. Musashi's, I should say, as Haruka flees and escapes. Implying, I guess, that he died. So in real history, Miyamoto Musashi did not die after his duel with Kojiro, or he lived for another, 30 years. So as for the game, he probably also didn't die. We're going to see some suggestion of that in a bit. But in addition to that, this is a Yakuza game, and as we know, Kiryu can fight off 400 men in a single sitting and then only break a sweat in a cutscene. So he's probably fine. So yeah, that's Kenzan. It's a wild ride. I wish that they would translate it. I wish that someone would translate it. That being said, it's a great game. I love this game. Yeah, it's a little rough around the edges. It's the third game in the series, essentially. They made it before Yakuza 3. First in the sort of new engine that they made after Yakuza 2, which has, in code, carried on in some form to this day. Great game. I really like it. Really, really, really like it. And I like the run, and that was a great run, so I'm very happy to have had such a good run as that. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in the video now, because there's a little more of the credits. Let me mute it for a second as I do so we don't get blasted, although I do love this song. I would like to get to the end. Hey, look, it's good guy Yagyu Munenori. No longer is he Sasaki Kojiro. With an old Marume, now he's a good guy and he's cool. Everybody respects him and is following him as a respectable soldier. Everyone looks around and says, "Oh no, what's going on?" I think he's asking for a volunteer for something. And then everyone's looking kind of nervous. And then who might volunteer himself but not Musashi? Could that be him from behind? The man that we thought died? No, there he is. That's not Musashi. From the back it looked like him, his shoulders and his hair. But just like that man, Miyamoto Musashi, I'm going to bravely volunteer and talk about how cool Musashi is. Yeah. I'm gonna tear up. And then everyone else says, "I'm Musashi also, and I'm Musashi. We're all Musashi." In terms of bravery, it's not a Spartacus situation, but they all volunteer. And Marume, now old man, says, "Yes, actually, you are good, Yagyu, sir." Meanwhile, Majima is in the back listening to his Walkman. So Majima believes that he's alive at the very least. You know what, I do too. Especially because in literal history he survived an additional number of decades. PogChamp. Musashi-chan. 2:26 in game time. That's not right, but that's okay. They count it differently than we do. So, hey, that's Kenzan. Thanks for watching. I was very happy with how that run went. 255. Couldn't be happier. I'm sure I will play Kenzan again in the future, but not for a while. Because, hey, it's a great time. I'm pleased. Have a good one. Cheers.